Hello there, listeners. His name is Aaron, and he wears his socks inside out.
And his name's Tommy, and he's got a gun!
This is the Super Pod Saga! Welcome, everyone, to the Super Pod Saga. But Aaron and I are not alone today. We've also got a special guest, Jared, from the Play Along podcast. Hi, Jared. Welcome to the show. Tell everyone about you, about the podcast, and just talk as long as you want.
Socks inside out? I mean, that's a little weird, dog. And a gun? No, seriously, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate being on. Yeah, I'm Jared from Play Along podcast. What we do on our show is essentially we are a book club for video games. What we'll do is myself and my other two co-hosts each take turns kind of choosing a game. We'll then break that game down into individual sections and then come together each week and kind of recant the narrative, talk about gameplay. We'll go through each of those sections specifically, and at the end we kind of do a wrap up. And if at the end of the experience, if it's something that we would recommend to you guys, the listeners. Right now, I don't know when this comes out, but we are currently playing through a game called As Dusk Falls, which is a narrative experience where our choices give us different outcomes, and it's really interesting when we do those games because all three of us can get different outcomes, and it makes for an interesting experience for sure.
I love that idea as a podcast because that's something I would love to do if I had enough video game knowledgeable friends to do that with. Aaron's like my biggest video game knowledgeable friend.
Hey, we're not that knowledgeable either. We just play a game, and it is game good or is game bad, and that's what.
That's good.
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 Game good.
And then that's just the end of the podcast.
Just 2 seconds long.
If you are a first-time listener to the Super Pod Saga, what our podcast is that you're listening to right now is Aaron and I and Jared today. We bring a different video game topic to the table and discuss everything there is to discuss about it. We're on a quest to discuss every video game topic. And where can people find like our social medias and stuff, Aaron? I always forget.
That's fine. We've got a lot of them. Some of them I sometimes forget exist, and I apologize, everybody. But
Same.
yeah, so Twitter's our main one, at SuperPod Saga. All of our socials are honestly at SuperPod Saga. So it's, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Tumblr. We also have Patreon now that I just made the other day after spending 2 hours
Money.
deliberating on what the tiers should be. And my eyes really hurt afterwards. But if you're listening to this, definitely just check it out. Just do me a favor and check it out, please. Find it on in our link tree, which the link to that is kind of weird, but you can go to superpodsaga.com. That's right, we bought the domain for that shit.
Oh, damn.
Yep, and then there's a donations section, and our Patreon is there, or you can just give us like a small tip through PayPal if you'd like. Any small bit helps. But
we're also starting to write things too. Like you can go to the website and read stuff that we write. It's not just a website for giving us money.
Nope.
That's really cool. I need to check that out.
I need to write more.
Page, baby.
But yes, so that's where you can find us. That's what the show's about. Today's topic was picked by me in honor of, I think I picked this a few weeks ago when I was still high on Pokemon Violet. But we're going to discuss every...
Oh no, are you not high on it anymore?
I'm not high on it anymore.
Oh no.
We're going to discuss every mainline Pokemon game, and not like just like what's good, what's bad about them, and then we're going to pick our 6 favorites or your team, however you want to pick, like 6 from each generation, because everyone always has their different favorites. And I just love seeing everyone's like love for individual Pokemon. Does that sound good, everyone?
Sweet. Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's
Okay.
talk about some Pokemons.
Okay, so the first Pokemon game, as you may remember, games for at least us Americans was Pokemon Red and Blue. Which one did you have, if you did?
Jared, you can go first if you like, since you're our guest.
Yeah. I think it was a while ago. I played these games when they came out, and in my kid brain, I think about it. Yeah, exactly. I probably went red because it was like, oh, red is like the cool color, and I was like, I probably 100% with Pokemon Red.
That's how I pick things too. Is just this is a cool color.
Yeah, what color is cool, and that's the one I'm going to pick.
By the way, audience, I apologize if you hear any small noises coming from us. My 1-year-old is sitting with me, and he's watching videos on his tablet. But I just thought I'd get that out of the way. But
he'll chime in every now and then to give his favorite Pokemon of each generation as well.
Sometimes you'll give a good oh or uh-oh.
Oh, you decided though. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ooh, you liked Scarlet and Violet. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Your favorite Pokemon is Metapod? Uh-oh. I don't think I ever had Red or Blue because I mean my family didn't have the most money in the world, so I didn't get a. I think my first Pokemon game was Yellow, but I remember my cousins had Blue, and I remember checking out all their Pokemon on there, and my cousin's favorite at the time was Magmar, and he would just decimate everything with Magmar, and pretty sweet.
I'm gonna break right away because I had Yellow. Yellow was my first one. I got the special Pikachu Game Boy.
Oh, nice.
And it came.
That's what I should have said
Pokemon
since
Yellow.
my first was Yellow. Sorry.
It's okay. It was a trick question because I wanted to sound special and be like I had Yellow.
Son of a bitch.
Yellow's interesting too because Yellow was like obviously the set up the trend of the third installation in the games, but Yellow was also like the gym leaders were harder. Like your starter was different. It was really different than the first two experiences, which is interesting.
And your Pikachu followed you around.
Yeah.
Which they like couldn't
That's where
figure
the
out how to do
obsession
again.
started. Yeah, exactly.
And you could talk to him and he'd give you do a little image pop up of his face, and he hated you at first.
Yeah.
Or if you let him get his ass kicked too many times, he'd be like, "God fucking damn it!"
Yeah,
it's just sad.
And you
just
try
dragging the behind you.
You try putting a Thunderstone on him, and he slaps it away. Like, so cool. Anyways, what did you guys like about the first games, or not like about the first games?
Oh man, I'm gonna
I know
try
it's
to
tough.
view this in the perspective of like small Jared playing it as a kid.
Goo goo goo.
Yeah, exactly. But I just loved the, I guess, sense of adventure that I had with it. It's really weird to look back at those Game Boy games and try to piece together the semblance of adventure because it doesn't seem like it because it feels so outdated for today's technology. But at least for the time, Aaron, I was kind of the same as you. Like my family, we didn't have a ton of money, so I actually was always kind of like a generation or two behind. So by the time I had like Pokemon, people were already like in their Nintendo 64 playing Stadium and stuff like that too. But yeah, I was at the same time also watching the anime, so I think that 100% helped because I was watching the show and then playing the game and catching those creatures that I thought was interesting and exciting. So yeah, I think just the sense of adventure that it gave me was so much fun.
That's 100%. When I was thinking back on Yellow, I had the same thought. It was like you can go like town to town and over these routes, and there's tons of people. It just felt like this giant, huge world.
Yeah, well, before that, like all of my gaming experience was things like Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country, which things have like a big world, but it's like a world map that you go from like thing to thing. This was something that you could like walk through in its totality, and you can go to these towns, you can go back to other towns, which felt very open compared to other things I had experienced.
Yeah, I agree completely. I never actually finished Pokemon Yellow. I never beat the Elite Four, and then I got gold before I could. But I actually have, if it's okay with everyone, I have a story relevant to Pokemon
anecdotes.
Yellow. Yes. So back in early elementary school, I brought my Pokemon Yellow to school. I don't know if I already told this story in the podcast, but it's like never been more relevant than right now. And
now it's really relevant.
Podcast. I'm gonna go for it.
I lent it to a friend of ours, Matt R. Aaron.
Oh no. I know.
Over recess. And I came back. Recess was over, so I went to get it back, and he walks up to me and he's crying. And I'm like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "I saved over your game. I tried getting back to where you were, but I couldn't do it." And so then I started crying too. We were both just standing there crying. Spoilers, cover your child's ear, Aaron. When I got home, I told my mom I'm never playing this again because it's too hard to get back. And she's like, "Well, we spent money on this for you." And I was like, "But it came from Santa." And that's how I learned Santa wasn't real.
Oh no, 2 heartbreaks in one day.
Yeah,
oh
it was
Jesus.
a rough day. Oh man, but I did go back to playing it because I felt bad and I played it more. But yeah, just that sense of adventure from Pokemon and just catching these different creatures and like becoming attached to them, that stuck with me forever.
Yeah, 100%.
I know that Matt will never listen to our podcast, so it's this same friend, by the way, borrowed my Final Fantasy VII and scratched the second disc to absolute hell.
So he's notorious for this.
Yeah.
And And he also borrowed my copy of the original Resident Evil on PS1, and he fucking gave it to his friend. Just gave it to him.
Not
This
a-
son of a
Wow.
bitch just gave this other kid my game. But we're not talking we're talking about Pokemon. I'm sorry. That's
Yes.
sorry for the time.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the first gen games, Aaron? Oh, we gotta first. My brain's going wild.
Oh yeah. My thing with it is that there wasn't a whole lot of like big adventure games on the Game Boy because a lot of the games
Yeah,
were like
yeah.
linear, 2D platformers. Like there was
Mm.
Castlevanias and Mario's and Wario's and shit like that. The most you ever got was like a Zelda or something like that. So
Yeah.
with Pokemon, it was cool to you just go out in the world and you could catch all these different creatures you come across, and it was cool that you could give them nicknames and stuff. Because I don't for my kid brain that was really cool because I would just name them after like friends and like pets and shit. So I had a bunch named like
Yeah.
Mittens and after my friends at the
Matt
time.
R.
And-
I agree. Exactly. I can only imagine the dumb shit that I named my Pokemon. I don't know. Like I usually don't name them too much now. So I'm curious if I did back in the day. I don't know. I don't
I've
remember.
never been a naming person, not in any of the games.
I name my Pokemon when I do Nuzlocke. And that's like my stipulation.
Yes.
Is that's usually when I end up naming them because that's kind of part of the game.
So,
Look.
sorry, Aaron. Were you gonna say
No,
something?
I was gonna say that's awesome, but go ahead.
Okay, so let's get to our top six. We'll rotate, but since Jared is the guest, he may go first. You can say like a little bit about each one or why you picked it if you want. Go wild.
Oh man. So
or if
many
you can't
Gen
even come up
1.
with six, because I know for some gens I was struggling.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go like gut reaction, first one that came into my head, and it actually popped up for the first time again in Scarlet and Violet. But Venomoth, I love Venomoth.
Mhm.
Venomoth is such a cool
Ooh.
Pokemon, and correct me if I'm wrong because my Pokemon knowledge is not super vast.
Oh,
but
I will.
okay, cool, thank you. Venomoth was only in Gen 1 and didn't show up again until Scarlet and Violet. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Well, they're in
No,
there.
he was-
Okay, cool. They're in
I was
gold and
saying, he was
silver, I imagine. Yeah, I can't remember, but I know I don't know why Venomoth always stood out to me. I really love Venomoth's design. I think it's just like it's simple, just like a cool moth Pokemon. Yeah,
They were all simpler back then, which I appreciate.
yeah, they get kind of complicated now.
Oh, I'm gonna interject for just a second though, but I
Go for it.
it really it physically pains me when people are like, oh, Pokemon are they're getting more and more generic as the series goes on, but
Generic.
then there's all sorts of little generically named little pieces of shit sprinkled throughout Generation 1, like a fucking seal named Seal. There's a goddamn Dugong named Dugong.
Oh yeah. See, that's
Like-
that's what I know. Like people are always like people will get to Gen 5, trust me. But people are like, oh, ice cream Pokemon are garbage. I'm like, one of the Pokemon's literally just a magnet. One of their Pokemon is the Pokeball just
Yeah.
flipped upside down. How is that not creative?
It's a little rat
Yeah.
evolves into a big rat.
Yeah. Or fucking Meowth evolving into a cat. Oh, maybe that's different, I guess. But yeah, it pains me when people say that. But sorry for interjecting. You may go. You may proceed.
Am I doing all my 6 right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. Venomoth, I think another one that stood out again, going back to Jared's like kid brain. Arcanine,
Goo goo goo.
Goo Goo.
Oh,
I
yeah,
looked at Arcanine and I was like,
Arcanine's
Goo
cool.
Goo Goo
Yeah.
Goo, I want that. Well, Arcanine's amazing. I mean, cool design, cool Pokemon,
Oh, yeah.
amazing. Let's see. I got Charizard.
Yeah.
mean,
oh yeah, everyone loves
Being a
Charizard.
kid and seeing this dragon, there was no possible way I was choosing either of the other two. Like I was like, I'm getting Pokemon Red because red's the cool color, and I'm gonna pick the dragon because the dragon's cool.
Hell
That was
yeah.
lit. That was all my smooth brain can handle at that point. Was just that.
Totally normal.
Yeah. Okay, those 3. Marowak. I think Marowak's like
Ooh.
unappreciated. I love Marowak. Marowak's also a good Pokemon too. Like it's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that? That's 4.
That's 4.
Okay. Let's do. I really liked Electabuzz because of the anime and because of its like cry in the anime. I remember like
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
it's incredibly ridiculous.
Oh my god. I wish my 10-year-old were here because he and I will like sometimes go back and forth. We'll be like Electabuzz.
Yeah.
And,
Is that
do
what
the
he
Thunder
sounds
Punch
like?
animation.
Yeah, it's wild. He sounds crazy. And like the episode he shows up in is like this weird like karate dojo episode where this
Yep.
Scyther and this Electabuzz are
Mhm.
going at it, and then like there's a ketchup bottle that makes them get angry for some reason.
Get up on the octopus. His trainer.
That was a great impression. Wow, good job. That sounded just like it. I'm a kid again watching Pokemon on Saturday morning. And the last one I'll do is I'll go a legendary. I love Zapdos. I think Zapdos is still my favorite out of the three. I don't know. I think that as a kid too, like the angular designs and like everything being pointed, I was like, oh, that's cool. And I really liked electric types too back then. There wasn't a ton in this generation, but I really was drawn towards electric types. But yeah, those are my 6.
Good picks. Aaron, you go next.
Okay, I'm gonna go for So when I made my teams beforehand, but I forgot to do legendaries because I don't usually put legendaries in my parties because I'm like,
we're different.
Yeah, they usually don't.
I would go through the Elite Four with but I'll add legendaries later on. So first one, a Venusaur because I like Venusaur.
Nice.
Please don't crucify me.
No, I'm a Bulbasaur guy.
Venusaur's great.
I love him, and especially his Mega Evolution is really cool.
He's a dual type, which is super cool for that. The only starter that was dual type.
And then we get the Primeape. I just really like Primeape's design. He's cool. It's cool to imagine him just like punching and kicking shit to death. And I love Primeape.
As you go through these, I think that like I had a lot of like my favorites came from the anime because every time you say a Pokemon, I think like you said Primeape. I think of the episode where the Mankey stole Flash's hat
or some shit like that. Yes. And then Kingler, I like Kingler. He's cool because he's the only one that can learn Crab Hammer and shit like that. That's really cool. Well, now he's not the only one, but back then, yeah, Flareon because there weren't very many fire types in the
really
think about
Gen 1. Yeah, but Flareon's my favorite of the evolutions because her fur just looks like it's flames and shit. And then Magneton. Say what you want about the magnets. I really love Magneton.
In its simplicity, it is perfection.
Yeah, and they're just little magnets slapped together, just shocking you and all that. And
shove 3 Magnemites together, and they evolve.
Exactly, and then in the games they get probably not every game, but some games they get levitate, so it completely negates entire weakness.
Yeah.
And then we get to Gengar, who is quite possibly my favorite Pokemon ever.
Gengar, that's such a good one.
Oh my gosh, yes, Gengar. So I love him so much. Got a tattoo of him on my arm, and that's my team.
Excellent.
I need to know, what is your thoughts on Gengar's shiny?
It's just a different shade of purple, isn't he? Like barely.
It's barely noticeable. It's so disappointing because his Mega Shiny is so cool, being all white.
It's all white. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they decide those things, but they need to do better sometimes.
Well, I mean, again, Scarlet and Violet has awful shinies. There's some good ones, but I would say there's more bad than good in Scarlet and Violet.
Nothing beats, what is it, shiny Obstagoon. Nothing beats shiny Obstagoon because he's
the red and white.
Yeah, and he reminds me of like toothpaste. Like what's that one toothpaste brand that has like the white and red
like
and
Colgate.
Blue? Yeah, or like
that's a great name for your Obstagoons. Call them Colgate.
Oh, that's good. I apologize. I can't connect with you two on the anime front because I didn't get the channel, so I don't know if I've ever watched a Pokemon.
No. We'll do it for you,
Wild, right?
Yeah, I'll watch more Pokemon for you.
Okay, perfect.
I hope you have a Jigglypuff because I do a killer Jigglypuff or Squirtle.
You could just do it.
Yeah.
I also love this because my 6 are completely different than both of your 6.
Hell yeah, there you go.
Doesn't that say something special about Pokemon? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, dude.
Okay,
you can all find your favorites.
My 6 first is Pikachu because it was my first one, and he had such a little attitude, and I love just traveling around with him.
Classic.
And then Graveler because he's a big, tough rock guy that just crushes things with his rocks.
Not Golem?
With 4 arms, too.
4 arms, yeah. And Dugtrio was my version of Magneton because it's just 3 Diglets shoved together.
That's true.
and then my last 3 are like the cool ones because they were cool. Scyther, I had a little toy Scyther that I loved to death.
Very cool.
Gyarados, super cool.
Everybody loves Gary.
And then Kabutops, Scyther's cool cousin.
Ooh, I forgot about the fossils. Kabutops is great.
I was obsessed with dinosaurs and paleontology, so you can bet I was in love with the fossil Pokemon.
Also, you give a fossil 2 giant swords on its arms, and you're like, this is just a win. Like, there's no losing here.
And he starts off as just like a little round guy, and you're like, oh, hello. And then he evolves into Kabutops, and you're like, oh, someone grew up.
Hello. Oh, here's one for you guys. Who's your favorite of the 3 legendary birds? I'll go first. Articuno. I love Articuno.
It's Zapdos. Zapdos is my favorite.
And I would pick Moltres.
Oh.
Wow, look at us.
Man,
Oh,
this
man.
is off to a great start. I'm sure we're going to agree on everything going forward.
Yeah, there will be never any disagreements ever. We're friends.
I actually know one gen that I know Aaron and I completely disagree on, so it's great that you're here to be the tiebreaker.
Ooh, okay, I'm curious.
But next, we get to Gen 2, Gold and Silver. Aaron, it's your turn to go first. Which did you have, and what did you like and not like about it?
So I'll do what I liked and didn't like first. I like that it's they added a lot, like a lot.
Yeah, so much.
They added I forget what is the phone thing called? It's like Poke Etch or some shit.
I think it's just called phone.
I think it's just
Pokemon?
called phone here. Yeah.
They added that little phone so that you could what is it? You could call people, you could listen to the radio, which didn't ever really do a lot because it was just text. You could listen to like radio shows.
It felt real.
Text.
It had like little music jingles that would play on certain stations, which was cool.
And then it was cool that the unknown ruins were really cool because they had those little like puzzles you could solve on the walls. I don't think there's anything I didn't like about that generation, really. No, there's nothing I didn't like. They were great. I have them on my 3DS still, and like sometimes I'll go back to I like Silver because I think Lugia is awesome, and I'll go back to Silver. But yeah,
Gold. It's my turn now. That's how the rotation is working. And
it is my turn now. I'm gonna say,
man, did it be his turn?
I had Pokemon Gold, and that was the first Pokemon game where like my brain could actually understand things, and so I was obsessed with it. I played that so much. I got all my team to level 100. I just did like just a complete obsession. They had a day-night cycle. You could breed your Pokemon, which didn't mean anything to me back then except breeding.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, and there was the whole second area where you could get 8 more gym badges.
Oh yes,
where you could go back. Which they haven't. How did they do that on the Game Boy Color? But the technology, man.
I'll tell you how when we get into my opinions.
and yeah, I loved everything about that game. It was so incredible. Oh, your turn, Jared.
Okay, this is one that I won't be as positive with as the last two. So I love Gen. Cut him out. I love Gen 2. I actually started with Crystal. I didn't play the first two. I played Crystal, which was the third in this series that had the cool Suicune thing that always happened in there. I think the Pokemon designs are really cool. Being able to fight all 8 gyms and then literally go back to the previous game you played and do that all in a new kind of context. So cool. Super interesting for sure.
Yeah.
In doing that, I think that created a lot of pacing issues for Gen 2. Like you'll finish the Elite Four with like low 40s. It's low to high 40s, which is interesting. Which I mean they have to account for because you're doing 8 more gyms. Totally get it. My biggest pet peeve with this is before the Elite Four, the Pokemon distribution is just you'll be going in Victory Road and still running into Zubats and still running into the same Pokemon that you ran into in the first route. And that's my biggest problem is it doesn't seem like there's an interesting diversity of Pokemon as you go through those games. Doing them randomized or having like once you finish the Elite Four and you get access to the national decks, then you kind of have access to all the Gen 1 Pokemon as well. But I wish there was more diversity in the Pokemon that showed up throughout the game. But other than that, I loved Gen 2. Like I could literally, when you were just talking about like the radio, I can hear the Goldenrod City station radio like in my head as we were going about that because the music is so good in this game.
That was my favorite feature in Heart Gold was you find the thing that changes all the things to old sounds and old music. I was like, this was made for me.
Yeah, and then like your rival too, just being like, I mean, we had Blue or Gary or whatever in the first games, but this character really felt like he was like a rival.
Oh yeah, the little asshole kid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you go.
Did you guys ever? I see this all the time on like hardest bosses of any video game list, and I always see the one chick who had the mill tank and shit like that. Yeah. I don't remember ever having problems with it. Maybe because I'm. Her.
I think I struggled with her too. Also, like playing this for the first time, my conception and idea of like typings and weaknesses and resistances and immunities weren't probably a thing. I was my Pokemon had like Fire Blast, Earthquake, Hyper Beam, and like those were my moves.
Yep. Same.
I remember thinking that that when any move mentioned special attack, whether it lowered it or whatever. I always thought that special attack was like your Pokemon's favorite move. So I always thought like Charizard's special attack was Fire Blast or something. I'll be like, yeah, that's a special move.
Use your favorite move, buddy.
That's
Hilarious.
Also,
Dodge it.
I just want to say, for name pronunciations, no judgment, because I didn't watch the anime, so I never got to hear them. Like when you said Suicune, as a kid, I always pronounced it Suicune. So,
That's exactly how I did it. I mean,
I listened to another Pokemon podcast and they call it Suicune.
Oh, that's fun.
I had the from the Aaron here. He bought the Pokedex book thing from the book fair every single year, and the
same.
Pokedex thing always had the pronunciation thing like a dictionary, and they pronounced it Suicune. So let me challenge this other Pokemon. I'm not gonna challenge anybody.
After I said no judgment, you're like, I challenge him.
I challenge you. You're wrong. Oh
Shoot,
man,
there was something else I had, but it's gone now. But that's okay.
Did either of you? I'm curious if you did this as a kid growing up. Did either of you fight Red on the top of Mount Silver?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that's what a wild fight. What a wild fight, challenging the protagonist of your previous game.
I didn't get that. I didn't understand that at the time. I was like, why isn't this dude talking?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I remembered. No, wait. No, it's gone.
I hate when that happens.
Damn it.
I'm sure it'll come back an hour from now.
I look at the end of the episode or after we're done recording. You're just going to scream it into the air.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, anyone have anything last they want to say before we get to our 6?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
I'm good.
Aaron, your turn. What are your 6?
Okay, all right. So I used to think that I was more of a grass type trainer guy, but in recent years I've learned that I like all of them. So this is a really hard choice, but Typhlosion is the one I would start, or Cynical and Typhlosion, but Typhlosion is just cool, dude. Flame Wheel and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Politoed is one of my favorite Pokemon ever. So even my water type, yeah. Oh my gosh. And then Xatu, because he's cool, little totem psychic bird.
Psychic flying, yeah, that's a fun combo back then.
Yeah, dude.
Also, Psychic is just devastating. I guess they introduced Dark in this generation, which made it kind of problematic, but Psychic was still kind of a powerhouse in these early gens.
Ooh, and then Heracross bug fighting. That's
so good.
He was super cool.
Oh yeah, to headbutt a tree to get him, I think.
Yep, that is right. And then everybody's favorite Tyranitar dude, Dark Rock or Dark Ground, I forget.
Dark Rock, yeah.
He's cool. And then Porygon too. I love all the Porygons. They're all awesome. Yep.
the most anticipated sequel, Porygon 2.
If I had to pick a legendary, I'd probably I don't know which dog I like more though, but I guess, or cat, I don't know. I guess I would go with probably Entei.
Oh my gosh, running into those things randomly as a kid was
terrifying.
So awesome. Yeah, scary. Okay, my 6. Meganium. I picked my boy Chikorita when I first did. And boy, playing this as an older person, the Meganium doesn't learn any good moves.
Yeah, that's also like hard mode in the beginning.
Because his first gym is flying type. Oof. Yeah, his last damaging move, I'm pretty sure, is Body Slam, which is bizarre. I also have Tyranitar. Guess which little kid fell in love with the Dark type when they introduced, and I was like, oh, they're so cool, they're Dark type. So Tyranitar being a dinosaur, kind of, because of the Tyrant. Yeah. It was just made for me. And then Umbreon, because again, it's a Dark type evolution. Crobat. That guy was so fast.
I love Crobat. Crobat is such a good Pokemon.
He is cool. I forgot about that.
And I had Ampharos, which just a big beefy sheep that could shock things.
My co-host Kai, the Ampharos is his favorite Pokemon. Every time we play through a game, he always uses an Ampharos.
No matter what game, Ampharos.
No matter what, not in the game, put it in the game, Ampharos.
Make it one of the cover Pokemon.
Yeah, and then my last pick was Ho-Oh. I loved that was my favorite legendary. Nice. Weird name, but it's just so really cool having a big giant bird on the screen.
A big firebird too. That was really cool about it. Well, that's cool. We're gonna go through this. A lot of mine weren't picked by either of you, which is cool. My starter, I deviated from the fire. I actually did Totodile because I thought a water crocodile was super cool. Also, Feraligatr is cheeked up in these games. You
see them
cheeks.
It's so bizarre.
It's so weird.
That was my second choice for starter. I love Totodile and I love Cyndaquil, but I love Typhlosion as a last form way more.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I don't know why they decided to just give Feraligatr just a dump truck. I don't know.
Disney Pixar mom ass. There we go.
Yeah. But I was obsessed with the other type introduced in this gen, which was Steel. Scizor is my favorite Pokemon. I love Scizor and its design. I think that its shiny is really cool because it references kind of the beta version of Scyther, because Scyther's evolution used to be green before they changed it to red, which I thought was really cool. That's why Scizor's shiny is green instead of being red. Steelix, a lot of Pokemon from Gen 1 got evolutions in this game, which I thought was cool, that, you know, we can get introduced to new Pokemon, but Pokemon that we already know could also get new evolutions, which Gen 2 kind of introduced that concept. So Steelix as well was at 3. I really liked, I don't know why, I loved Hitmontop. I thought it was just like a goofy Pokemon, and I thought he was so his evolution Tyrogue and evolving that, depending on the stat, that's how it evolved into either Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, or Hitmontop. I thought was such an interesting concept. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Oh, I love Noctowl. I think he's just a normal type. He's not anything crazy. He gets access to psychic type moves. Should be normal psychic, but I think he's just a cool Pokemon. Noctowl is cool. He's an owl. He's a cool owl.
He's a cool owl. That's the first owl, actually.
Yeah, that is. Have you had an owl Pokemon since Hoot Noctowl?
No, I don't think so, actually.
I don't think so either. Interesting. But for me, out of the legendary dogs, my electric thing continued, and I love Raikou. Suicune is so close second because of the movie. Because I watched the Pokemon movies as well as a child.
Oh my god, yeah.
I remembered from before.
Oh yeah.
I typed it down so I wouldn't forget too.
Smart.
Going back to the rival from the rival, when he first introduced himself and he like pushes you over and he's like, "My name is question mark question mark question mark," and he goes on. And then when I got back to the thing, he was like, "Oh, he told you his name. What was it?" And I was like, "It's question mark question mark question mark."
Oh no.
I didn't understand at the time. You were supposed to
give him a name.
Yeah. So that's what his name
I
was.
always called him like some kind of profanity or something.
Dude, absolutely. He was always shithead for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like poopy or something.
I don't know if I realized it while playing through it, but just in lore in general, it's really cool that he's Giovanni's son. That's pretty crazy.
Didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, he's Giovanni's son.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Also, Team Rocket coming back in the story and like Giovanni being there at the end is a cool story too.
Yes, I agree. Okay, Ruby and Sapphire, Game Boy Advance time now. We're on to Advance.
Yeah, we're moving up. We're moving up in the world now.
Unfortunately, I was getting older and getting more afraid of people's judgment, so I pretended not to care about Pokemon, and I didn't play Sapphire or Ruby for a few years after, but I did get around to it. But I didn't like it as much as Gold and Silver. They got rid of the day-night cycle, which was insane to me, and I just didn't really connect with the new Pokemon as much as I did with Gold and Silver, which is tough too because, like I said, I was obsessed with Gold. But I don't have a lot of memories of it, unfortunately. So that's basically all I've got to say about it.
That's it. Well, I'll compensate with that because Gen 3 is probably my favorite generation and the one that I remember the most. This is probably very pivotal. I think I was probably in middle school when I was playing through this. So I think I was in it was a similar situation where I was getting into that time where like people were thinking this wasn't cool and they were growing out of it. Just like habits. Like maybe they played games as a kid, but those were like kid things. But I still obsessively played in private, even if I didn't tell anybody about it. But man, I love Ruby and Sapphire. I think I actually played Emerald first. That was my first introduction to Gen 3 was Emerald, the third version of this. But such a huge graphical overhaul from Gen 2. Like the Game Boy Advance and that like pixel style for it was incredible. The music, still to this day, those fucking trumpets. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse or not, but those trumpets.
Curse as much as you want, dude.
Jesus Christ, I love that. I love the soundtrack in Emerald so much. It's so good. This was the first generation of, and we'll get into Pokemon too, but the starters are all bangers in my opinion. I think they're all fantastic. I'm trying to think of maybe something I didn't like about Gen 3.
Your
I mean, in
rival
retrospect,
wasn't really a rival for the first time. They're kind of more of a companion.
yeah, this kind of starts setting up this theme of your rival still being kind of like a companion and a competitor. Like they still encourage and they still we didn't get the question mark
Yeah.
of Gen 2 kind of rival in in this going forward. But no, I really loved Gen 3.
Yeah, dude, Gen 3 was absolutely my favorite. Unlike you guys, I was there's no hope for me. I was a nerd all
He
throughout
was.
school, man.
I can vouch for that.
I
Yep,
know I was a closet nerd, but I was still a nerd at heart.
dude, I was full blown. Like I don't give a shit. I played my Game Boy with Pokemon at school. People would ask me like, "What's your favorite Pokemon, Aaron?" And I'd say whatever my favorite was at the time. I'd be like, "I don't give a fuck, man." But no,
Good on
Gen 3 was
you.
my favorite.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Looking back, I wish I could have been like that, but I was too
Yeah,
concerned
same.
with being cool.
But
Which I wasn't.
I
but...
Exactly. To my own detriment, I was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody about Pokemon because I want to be cool. Wasn't cool in general though, so that didn't really help my case there.
that was my thing too. Like I have like not everybody likes me, but fuck 'em.
Man.
Pokemon. I started with Sapphire, and what I really liked, all the towns were super duper unique in that game because a lot
Oh,
of the
yeah.
towns in the first couple of generations they were just towns, and like that was pretty much it, with the exception of maybe like the ice town with the red Gyarados Lake. But
Yeah.
there was that one town in Gen 3 where like they were all tree houses on top of these big like tropical
Oh,
trees.
Fortree. Yeah.
And then there was Slateport City with the big old like freight shipyard, and then there was that one town that's in that big ass crater that was super. You had to use dive to get to it and everything. That was super cool.
Yeah.
Then
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
like Jared said, the
HM
music
overload.
was I still hate the HM system, but yeah, like Jared said, the music is just banging. Like the one for Slateport City where it's like burr,
Love
burr,
Slateport.
burr, 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 that was really cool.
Do you
And
have a favorite?
I'd say it's either Slateport City or I'd probably have to take a look at the rest of the soundtrack again. I can't think of any
Yeah.
others, but Slateport City is the one that really, really stands out
That
the
really
most.
stands out. Yeah,
Oh.
that one. I think Rustboro's a good one too, or like Petalburg, kind of those early cities. I kind of remember those very fondly.
I forget which route it was, but I'm gonna really shittily reenact this, but it's like I
hear it.
I'll move on though.
No, please
No,
keep
yeah.
going.
When we
Gen
talk,
3
you
is
do
my
the
abs-
music.
I'll
Yeah,
do
you'll be the background music when we're describing our Pokemon.
Gen 3 is absolutely my favorite for sure. Nothing is ever. A couple generations have come pretty close, but Gen 3 is for sure my favorite.
Excellent. Let's move on to our 6. It's my turn to go first. And like I said, I don't have a lot. This was the toughest one for me to even pick 6.
Oh wow, interesting.
I picked Swampert because that was my starter that I picked, and he was a cool water ground type. That was super neat.
That's cool.
I mean, he didn't do good against grass, but he was still cool looking.
Yeah.
Lotad, goofy looking guy.
Oh, he's such a derp. I love him.
Yeah, he's got 6 little legs. He just has this stone face. It has no emotion. I love Lotad to this day. The only one I remember from my team is Breloom, and he's
Breloom's a good Pokemon.
He's cool.
it was a
Fighting
grass fighting type, which was super cool. So I still like Breloom to this day. Tropius doesn't get enough love. He's a big dinosaur with leaf wings and a banana beard, which is fun.
Yeah, how can you not love something with a banana beard?
Metagross, which just steel. I guess I just really like the unique typings in this gen because he was a steel psychic, which was cool. And then I had Kyogre because I had Sapphire. So that's what I did. Those are my 6. Your turn, Jared.
Yeah, I also went Swampert this generation, but this was the first time where I was like, I looked at Swampert, Sceptile, and Blaziken, and I was like, these are all amazing. Like, how am I supposed to choose? And like you said, cool. This is where it started mixing up typings. Blaziken being fire fighting, Swampert being water ground, and Sceptile. Oh wait, Sceptile's just grass, right?
I think
He got left out in the cold.
Oh, that's right. He gets Grass Dragon with his Mega Evolution. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I went Swampert for this. I really like I really like Swellow. I think Swellow is like, it's a very
Ooh, yeah.
basic design, but I
He's
think
cool,
Swellow's
though.
a really cool Pokemon.
Real
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, super fast too. Camerupt, I thought
Yep.
Oh my
Camerupt was
gosh,
really cool too, especially because like because in the Emerald storyline you follow both Archie and Maxie, both Team Aqua and Team Magma, and Team Magma had a lot of Camerupt, it had a lot of Nummels, and I thought Nummel was just adorable, so I had that on my team. Flygon, I mean, come on, like Flygon is just such a cool design. Interesting, like
Super
lead
cool.
up with Trapinch,
Yeah,
Vibrava, and then
really.
Flygon, like. Kind of hard to see the thought process going into there, but I think they're still all pretty cool too.
He's one I can never remember the typing for off the top of my head because it could be
Yeah,
anything.
Literally me neither. I'm always like, what? Yeah. I always think he's Bug
gotta be
Dragon
flying,
because
right?
he
He's
looks
got
like a
flying in his
bug.
name.
They made it even weirder too because he's Ground Dragon, but they gave him Levitate. Like what the? What?
Yeah, it's
okay.
like, what? Oh, sure, why not? Okay.
All right.
I'll keep the dragons going and Salamence. I mean, come on, Salamence is such a cool Pokemon. And then this is the generation which is interesting where I feel like they introduced like 42 legendaries in this game. There's so many legendary Pokemon in this game. And I think one of my favorites has to be Latias again because of the movie. I watched a lot of the Pokemon movies during this time, and I think that's where I grew a lot of fondness for certain Pokemon and legendaries specifically.
I forget. Is Latias is the red, right?
Latias is red, yeah, and Latios is
Okay.
blue. Oh, Deoxys was this generation too. Jesus, there's so many legendaries in Gen 3.
Well, for mine, I really liked Trico. Trico's really awesome. So I mean,
Also,
I
the
would
anime
always,
made me love Trico.
yeah, dude, he always has that little stick in his mouth, like he's got a little cigarette or something. It's awesome. Don't smoke, kids. I mean, Trico makes it
That's
look
just
awesome,
that's this Kids WB censorship. It's like Sanji's
but
cigarette.
the lollipop, dude.
Yeah, the lollipop.
Fucking theme song. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Oh, no. We'll talk about that another time.
I can't imagine being a kid and like having like his first Pokemon game is going to be so far beyond what
You got to
ours
start him in the
was.
beginning. You got to hand him a Game Boy and hand him Pokemon Red, and
must
be like, you're
suffer.
starting from the bottom. You
And then,
you
then he's gonna
must
drop that Game Boy on his foot and break his fucking toes.
suffer.
Trico is my favorite starter ever. He's awesome. Oh, and then he learns Leaf Blade, which makes him even better because he's the only one that can
so
learn
cool.
Leaf Blade.
It's his signature move, right? At least in this at this time.
Yeah, because like Blaziken gets Blaze Kick, Swampert gets like Muddy Water, I think.
Yeah.
And then Medicham, I really like Medicham, especially Mega Medicham, because he gets that sweet pure power ability, or whatever they call the
so
passive.
strong, yeah.
Yep, these are super cool. Aggron, oh my god, dude, that big steel rock bastard is so fucking awesome. Sharpedo, because come on, it's a fucking
Ooh,
dark
yeah,
water
the shark.
dude.
Yeah, how can you not like Sharpedo?
He's so fast. He learns lots of like biting moves, like crunch and shit. Or I guess they only had like crunch and shit back then. And then I also picked Camerupt because Camerupt is cool. And Dusclops, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Dusclops. I really like Dusclops.
It's awesome. If I had to pick a legendary, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know. The Reggies were all like the same. I guess Regice is kind of cool because it's just like a big crystal bastard.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you... Again, I keep talking about the movies because that's what I watched the movies always when I was playing Pokemon. But in the movie with Lucaria, which is interesting because Lucaria was Gen 4, but the Reggies all make such weird noises. Like, their cries in the anime are so weird.
Oh, Jirachi is cool too. I forgot about Jirachi.
Oh, again, look at that. So many legendaries in Gen 3.
Yeah, this is where they started with like, the kids want the legendaries. Pump them out.
Yeah.
How
did you guys feel about... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah, cut them off.
I was gonna say, how do you guys feel about the remakes, Oris, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire?
I like those.
I had a rough time with those. I mean, it's probably not surprising, but I don't, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if it was me playing it or what, but I just got over leveled way too fast, and so every single battle was just one move kill, one move kill.
It was a cakewalk.
Yeah, and I had no feelings towards the first one, so I don't even know if I finished it.
Yeah, that's the trend. As I noticed that my cognitive child ability increases somewhat, at least, the games start being less and less challenging.
Yep.
And I think they're always the same amount of. I mean, there's some games that are harder than others. They're the same amount of challenging, but obviously we get older, and those things become. We learn type weaknesses, and we learn. Oh yeah, maybe using Reflect is a good move to have on your team, not just Earthquake, Fire Blast, Hyper Beam, Horn Drill.
I think it was like around this time they started doing like the special distributions for the legendaries, so you can only get them from like
Yes.
going to fucking Chicago to get some special ticket, and then going to like New York or some shit to claim Jirachi, because you couldn't normally get Jirachi in the games. You had to get this special fucking ticket in person, and then do something in your you take your game with you. They would do something with it, and then boom, you can go to a special clown and get Jirachi. But like,
which I mean, I guess in like retrospect, it's like, oh, like, that's cool. It creates hype. It makes these like legendaries actually feel legendary. But if you think of like going forward, no one's gonna be able to get these legendaries. Like, I think most of the time people have these legendaries, they're just hacked in at some point because all the Pokemon are in the code of the game clearly, and if you know code, you could just pull them out of that in that way. But yeah, the legendary distribution was really interesting this generation for sure.
Absolutely. Any last words before we move on?
This is the generation that they also introduced like abilities and stuff like that, which added just another layer of competitiveness and just choosing certain Pokemon, like you said, Metacam getting pure power and all of that was just another cool addition that I liked.
Agreed.
Yes.
All right, then it's DS time. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. We're out of colors, so we're going to materials now.
There's no more colors, actually. That's a fact. There's not enough colors for Pokemon games.
No, they ran out. Jared, you are first. What are your memories of Diamond and Pearl?
So again, this one was a big one. I have a lot of nostalgia for Gen 4, and honestly, before BDSP, they were my favorite generation. I have similar. I think Gen 4 suffers similar issues as Gen 2 with its Pokemon distribution.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, I'm still running into Starlies and Star Aravias in like the Elite Four, which is not cool. I think there need to be more diversity of Pokemon that show up and more interesting Pokemon, which do show up later on, but I still feel like you're running into similar Pokemon going for it. And again, I think the problem was not having a national dex until post game, and having the core game and the main story just really revolving around the Pokemon of that generation and not having kind of others from the past generations. But I went with Pearl. This is when the little hipster in me started to fester, because I was like, oh, everyone likes Diamond. I'm going to get Pearl instead because I'm going to get the one that nobody wants to play. I also I think Palkia is cool. I think Palkia is probably my favorite out of the two. But this game introduced a lot of interesting things for sure. The Pokédex now being on like the DS, it had that graphical style to it too. A weirdly more complex, but if you look at it too deeply, doesn't make any sense story with Team.
Oh my gosh!
Oh God. Galactic?
That sounds
right. That sounds right.
There's so many teams at this point. Team Galactic and wanting to like restart the universe for some reason. It's like, Cyrus, what are you doing, buddy? Restart the universe?
They just got so extreme with the
yes,
they just got
they really did
every time.
It was like Gen 1 and Gen 2. They're like, oh, we're like a mafia organization and we're going to steal Pokemon because we want to make money and we want to have this like authority and everything. And then Gen 3 is like, oh, we want to take over the land and or flood the earth. And it's like, what? How is that going to benefit anybody? And now this one, they want to restart the universe. I'm like, okay, what's happening? I think my favorite out of this, I played Pearl. I started with Pearl, but Platinum is probably my favorite out of this generation. It added a lot of cool post-game stuff. And I think, I don't remember if it helped with the Pokemon distribution. I think that it was pretty similar to the first two games.
Aaron, your turn.
I don't have any nostalgia for Gen 4. I mean, I like the Pokemon designs for it, but it's probably my least favorite generation.
Ooh,
and that's a pretty hot take because I know a lot of people really love Gen 4 and hate a lot of the generations that I love. But you know what? I don't care.
Screw your opinions. My opinions matter.
I don't. Those games came out like after I graduated, and I remember playing them on a friend's DS. A friend's copy of the game and on their DS, and it was during a weird time in my life, so I don't remember anything about them. I haven't played the remakes yet either, so they were good, but definitely not my favorite.
Excellent. I also don't have my biggest memory is having to go through the mountain 4 times or something like that. I hated that. I hated caves throughout everything, and then for a game to be like, you're gonna keep going through this mountain over and over again.
I think this is the game that had the longest victory road.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I liked all I like the DS in general just because I thought the touchscreen stuff was cool. So getting to do touchscreen things, I always love doing. But I also don't have too many memories from it. I think I played that late high school, I want to say.
The digging minigame was pretty cool.
The whole underground thing and digging for fossils and getting gems and everything. That was an interesting mechanic. Another generation for me where all the starters were great.
Yep.
Empoleon, Infernape, Torterra. This was the first generation I went grass. I went Turtwig for this generation. I think Turtwig is adorable. Torterra just seemed really cool and intimidating. Again, also the little hipster in me, everyone was like, "Oh, Infernape and Empoleon." And I was pushes up my glasses. I'm like, Torterra.
Oh, and they actually gave him they gave the grass type a dual starter this time too.
Yeah, being grass and ground is really cool.
Yeah, grass starter dual type. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's see. Pokemon. Luxray. The whole Luxray line. Shinx, Luxio, Luxray. So cool. Such an edgy Pokemon. Again, this is the time in my life where now I'm like maybe late middle school or early high school, and the edgelord in me is starting to come out, and I'm like, oh yes, give me all the edgy Pokemon. I don't think I ever used one, but I really liked Cranidos and Rampardos. Yeah, good dinosaur Pokemon. I know they're not very good, but aesthetically, they have a really cool design to them. This generation also introduced a ton of evolutions from previous Pokemon. So many. I really loved Electivire. Electivire is probably my favorite out of them. It's hard because like Magmortar and Rhyperior, there's so many. Oh, Gliscor. Gliscor is another one that I really love. I like Bronzong. I think Bronzong gets slept on, but Bronzor and Bronzong I think are cool. And Steel Psychic is a cool typing too.
Yes.
And similar to Generation 3, Gen 4 continued the 1,000 legendaries that were introduced in this game. But let's see, what are my favorites? I'm gonna say Palkia. I'm gonna go Giratina. Giratina is extremely cooler than both of Palkia and Dialga.
Hell yeah.
Very cool design, very cool typing. Excellent.
Right.
Aaron, your turn.
Okay, for my team, I picked Empoleon because I like the steel or water steel typing, and Empoleon just looks cool. He's just
he's a freaking penguin.
Yeah, he's a metal penguin, dude. It's sweet as fuck. And then Luxray, because I mean it's Luxray, dude. If you're gonna pick any Pokemon from Gen 5 or not Gen 5, sorry, Gen 4, you might as well have a Luxray. He looks so fucking cool. And then I also picked Bronzong because dude, Steel Psychic, and he had Levitate. In later generations, he works really, really well with a Trick Room team, which for those that don't know, Trick Room makes it so fast Pokemon fast Pokemon are slow Pokemon are fast. And then I picked Hippowdon I don't know how you pronounce it, but he's just cool, just a big hippo.
I forgot Hippowdon was this generation.
With his big dumb mouth opening up like.
He feels like
Hippopotas is super derpy. That's what I thought it was Gen 5, but it's 100% Gen 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's Gen 4. And then Toxicroak, dude. Yeah. Poison fighting.
Oh, I forgot it. There's so many good Pokemon.
There is, right?
I forgot about.
I was trying to pick just one poison type because Dorapian is cool, but I picked Toxicroak. And then my last one is Carnivine because he's just super cool. He's a little Venus flytrap guy. He's just so cool.
Has Carnivine gotten anything since then?
No.
Wow. Unfortunately, Carnivine has zero love.
Wow. Those are kind of rare these days.
Yeah, his stats aren't the greatest either.
Yeah, I can see Carnivine getting like a pre-evolution. Carnivine feels like it's like an evolution to something.
Agreed.
Yeah.
My 6, I also picked Empoleon. That water steel type was super cool.
Yeah.
Staraptor was probably my favorite bird.
Yes.
Bird Pokemon. He's definitely got some attitude going on. We have our first consensus Pokemon because I picked Luxray as well.
Damn right.
Oh, there we go. Across the board, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it. Ding, 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 ding.
And then I have Dusk Noir, or however that's pronounced, because I think he just looks cooler than like the first two are fine, but then he's like, "Hey, look at me."
talk about edgelord. I really like Dusk Noir too because I played Mystery Dungeon during this time too, Explorers of Sky, and he has a big part in the story of Explorers of Sky.
I really struggled with the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. I could not figure them out as a child.
They were complicated, yeah. They were weird.
And then I picked Dialga because I had Diamond, and Roar of Time was always super fun to use. And then Darkrai, hey, a Dark type legendary. Ooh. How can you not love that?
Darkrai is my second favorite this generation. It was very close. I was almost put Darkrai as on my 6.
So that is. Go on.
I couldn't really pick. Well, I guess Shaman's Sky form is pretty cool. It's like a little baby deer, but I couldn't.
Oh, Shaman's cute, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really care for the other legendaries because like the Mesprit and all them, they're all the same. I don't give a goddamn. Palkia, like they're all right. Heatran is just dumb, but yeah, Shaman's pretty cool.
Yeah. Any last words for Diamond and Pearl?
No.
Nope.
Okay, and I don't know how these work in the thing. It's white and black next, but there's also white and black too. Are those
Correct.
So we'll just combine them.
Pokemon.
We don't need to talk about
Yeah.
them separately. So
Oh,
They're both Gen 5, so
yeah,
they both come out
yeah,
after each other.
yeah.
You want to do an ad break?
Yeah,
before
actually,
this one
good
or
call,
after?
good call. Let's do an ad break. We'll be right back, everyone.
This episode was brought to you today by baby food. Everybody, baby food. Gourmet baby food, actually. You know, you love your Cajun crab boiler pots. Yeah, there's a baby here, dude. He's got a dinosaur. You love your Cajun crab boiling pots. We've got a baby food for them now. People for those Louisiana babies. Tommy, what do you think about Cajun baby food?
I'm not a fan. I don't like the spicy. Do you have a baby food for me? A baby? Wait.
Do you have a
that
baby
doesn't
food
make
for
sense.
baby spicy me?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. In fact, it's matcha and pear. There you go, for your delicate little baby palate.
Aaron, I don't like matcha. It doesn't taste good to me. Is there a baby food for me?
I need a more baby food for this baby palate.
I don't have an advanced palate.
You like pears, Tommy?
No, I don't like pears.
Applesauce?
I don't like apples, Aaron. I'm not even joking.
Well, here's our new brand of flavorless baby food,
Yes!
specifically for
Yes!
Tommy here. No flavor. It'll come to you, and there's nothing. It tastes like nothing.
It's flavorless
It's like
mush.
drinking water.
Our scientists,
Finally.
our food scientists have worked around the clock, essentially taken applesauce but removed all the flavor from it. It's just flavorless mush. Here you
Do
go.
you also have
Tommy.
a sensitive palate? Well, here is flavorless mush, the baby food.
I can put it on
That's
my
it.
mashed potatoes.
That's it. That's the ad. The ad is for flavorless mush. Are you a child who doesn't like things, or you just have a delicate palate?
Or an adult that
Yeah,
doesn't
no.
like things.
Try flavorless mush. Zero flavor, zero nutritional value, zero everything.
I need this.
It's awful, but try it.
I can take it to
Use
social
promo
situations
code
and avoid
SuperPodBros.
I can
for
take it to
20% off.
social situations and avoid the awkwardness of being like, no, pepperoni's too spicy.
I brought my own meal. I have my own flavorless mush. Thank you.
And you know what? No matter where you go, flavorless mush has you covered because we'll have flavorless mush in all sorts of different forms. Like there's
All
flavorless
sorts of
mush.
different flavors.
I was gonna say we have it in different like forms. Like there's a tube of meat, tube of flavorless mush meat. So you could have like you could
The
throw on
flavor is
pizza
conceptual.
or-
Like you gotta
Yeah.
think about it. You gotta like it's meat flavored, but there's no like actual flavor there. You gotta think about the flavor.
It's like tofu. It absorbs the flavor whatever you're cooking it with. So you can slap it on top of pizza. Well, bam! You can put it in your mix it in with your mac and cheese. Oh, I guess, yeah, it'd be kind of cheesy, but
Imagination is the greatest flavor, for being honest here.
that's
Yes.
true. Oh my God, that's the slogan, everybody. Your imagination is the flavor.
Oh, thanks. Flavorless mush.
Available at a local Walmart near you.
And we're back. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back.
we're-
We were talking about Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2, the sequels to Black and
Yes.
White. It is Aaron's turn to tell us everything that he liked and didn't like.
This was also at another pretty weird time in my life because again, this is also on. This is on my brother's DS that he lent to me and his copy of the game. I remember a lot of people really hate the Pokemon in this generation, but I like them. I think they're pretty cool. I don't remember anything at all about the story. It was kind of forgettable, and I just.
But they put a focus on the story.
I know I don't remember anything at all about it, but I remember. No, I can't really say anything else. That's like the Pokemon, and that's it.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you for the insight.
Mhm.
It is my turn, and let me tell you, I started playing Black and White, or I had White in college, and this was my Pokemon awakening.
Oh hell yeah! I thought you were gonna be like, and I didn't like it.
No, I was in college now. I could reshape myself beyond high school Tommy, and I was basically the same, except I was more open about my love of Pokemon.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
And,
I'm glad this one brought you back.
And yeah, so I loved, like, my most played Pokemon was probably White 2. I maxed out the timer so that it stopped counting your time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Most of that was spent just doing trades. I was obsessed with the trading system in that game. Like, it was, I've talked about it before, but it at least for me playing it, like, you couldn't talk to people. You couldn't say, like, give me this and I'll give you that. They only gave, like, little emojis before emojis were even a thing. So everyone had, like, this weird little how to converse with each other using, like, 4 different symbols. And it was like this thing where you'd show, like, I got this, what do you got? And they'd show them what you got, and you'd be like, red X, or a smiley face, and then you'd, like,
I don't want that.
Switch in the offers, try and get good deals with people. I just spent so much time trading Pokemon, and I, for the actual games, I don't remember too much.
I just traded Pokemon. That's all I care.
Yeah, I liked this. I thought the story was interesting though, where the guy was like, "We shouldn't be having these things fight, you guys. Like, that's really messed up. They should be able to be free and on their own." And I was like, I mean, he's got kind of a point. It's kind of messed up.
I mean, they have a point, but then they proceeded to battle us with Pokemon. Isn't that kind of contradictory a little bit?
I didn't like that his name was N as well. I wonder if that's
like a translation thing. Like, I wonder what the thought process was there.
That's a good question. But yeah, I liked Black and White and Black and White. What about you, Jared?
For me, this is another one that I have nostalgia for too. Yeah. I played a lot of Pokemon. I enjoyed it. But this was probably late high school for me. I think so. But this was the first game that I bought day one. This is the first Pokemon game that I bought the day that it came out. I went to my local GameStop, and unfortunately, I decided to sell my copies of Pokemon Pearl and Pokemon Soul Silver so I can get one copy of Pokemon White the day it came out. Yeah, I'm not proud of that one.
Mistake we've all made, though.
Yeah, that back when you could actually do that at GameStop. I traded in so many games for other games.
Oh, same. But no, I played this the day it came out. I really liked this game. I thought the Pokemon were really interesting, especially looking back in retrospect. All the designs I thought were unique. The story, interesting in its material that it tackles. The idea of Pokemon being liberated from people and kind of and seemingly being able to talk to our Pokemon soul of whether or not they like to hang out with us was was interesting. Team Plasma, yeah, this was Team Plasma, and you know, I'm trying to remember what their goal was, and I honestly couldn't tell you.
Another big thing we forgot to say about this one is this was the one where they were like, no old Pokemon when you play first time through, only new Pokemon, and I really like that. It made everything feel super fresh.
Right, but they did this well, where Gen 2 and Gen 4 didn't. They're like, just old Pokemon in this generation, but as you go through, you run into so many interesting Pokemon. I remember in the Elite Four, I remember going through Victory Road is the first time you run into Heatmore and Durant, and those two Pokemon in the Elite Four. But that's the first time you ever see them in the entire game, is in that area. And that's interesting. Having Pokemon that are secluded to specific areas, and as you go through, more and more unique Pokemon show up, is how it should be done. And they did it well in Pokemon Black and White. This one also being the second game after the originals to have a legitimate sequel going forward, because Black and White had a narrative. You got to see character development. There was characters that became gym leaders. There was gym leaders that became Elite Four members. There was characters that showed up from previous games. The champion changed. You got to see a world of Pokemon go through a time period, and the characters and the environments and the worlds change and adapt as that time goes on. I mean, you start in a completely different part of Unova in Black and White 2. You're starting the whole like western side of the map, where you're on like the eastern side in the original one, and you go through and explore the game in a completely different environment and lens from the first one. And that idea is just so cool to see, which we haven't seen since Black and White and Black and White 2.
And sorry, I'm remembering things as you're talking about it, even though it was my turn. So I apologize. The Dream World. Did you guys ever do anything with the Dream World?
I don't remember.
I remember the Dream World because you get introduced to it early on with the girl and like the simi monkeys and everything, but I didn't do anything with the Dream World.
I did so much. You send your Pokemon to the internet, Aaron, and then you go onto a website on the internet, and you do. It's like almost like a miniature Animal Crossing where your Pokemon has his own little house, and
do you remember
you can
this?
do some gardening.
What in the fuck? That sounds awesome.
I did
This
so
is
much
the-
of that as well.
This is the first generation that I like, not too much, but like baby dabbled in competitive because they had the battle subway in this game too, where there was kind of these sort of pseudo competitive fights that you would do. This also introduced weird battle typings like triple battles and
Yeah,
rotation battles,
rotation.
which
the
is
rotation
wild.
battles.
It's
Yeah,
such a
that's
weird
weird.
concept.
All coming back.
Yeah, I just exhausted everything you could do in black and white. Good times. And you said something about how people don't like it. I think they're probably, as a group, my favorite designs of any gen.
Yeah. I would say that I probably like early on subscribed to like Gen 5 being bad because I think it was they decided to go a different route with how they designed the Pokemon. I think that being different kind of put people off. We talked about Pokemon being complex, and I think a lot of the designs of Gen 5 Pokemon are complex, but looking back at those games now, honestly Gen 5 is some of my favorite Pokemon designs.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely.
My thoughts exactly. Aaron, what are your 6?
My 6. So the starters were kind of weird. I like superior. So I like superior a lot because I don't remember if you were able to get hidden abilities for starters in Gen 5 or not, but I know in later games his hidden ability contrary.
Oh, Contrary
And,
being so cool, Leaf Storm Contrary.
Yes, exactly, dude. Oh my god. Yeah, that was super cool. And he's just a grass snake. I think that's pretty sweet. And then Snivy on his own is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then we go to fucking Zeebstrika. It's just
Yeah.
an electric zebra. I love him, dude. He's
An
an
electric zebra. How can you go wrong?
Yeah.
And Blitzel is adorable.
Blitzel
Yeah.
is adorable. Yeah.
And then Vanillux. Say what you want about the
Ooh.
ice cream cones being stupid, audience, but I like Vanillux. He's cool. He's a triple scoop ice cream, or double. Well, I guess
Get
he's a
that
double
triple
scoop
scoop.
actually, but yeah, he's just an ice cream cone. A little stick in there. But then we go to Seismitoad. I think he's really neat.
Yep.
Scolipede is really cool. He's just a little rolled up like insect centipede guy.
The rare
Or
intimidating
millipede.
bug type.
Yeah, dude. And then probably my favorite from that generation is Darmanitan. I think he's just
Oh, yeah.
he's super rad because like sometimes you can catch or I think that's his hidden ability is the Zen mode
Mhm.
possibly or but
And
that's
he turns into a psychic type, right? Fire Psychic?
yeah, Fire Psychic, which at the time had never been done.
Yeah.
But yeah, at first he's Darumaka, and Darumaka is a little cute little roundy
Just
boy,
hops.
and then yeah, just hops back and forth. Then you get Darmanitan, and he's just this big blazing monkey fucker. And then, if you caught a special one with Zen mode, his Zen form was kind of cool because he's just a little I forget what the word is for it in Japanese. It's like I think it's just Dharma,
Oh, yeah. It's
something like
oh
that.
gosh, why am I blanking on this? I know what you're talking about for sure.
And Darmanitan is just sweet because like later his main ability is sheer force, and when you slap a fucking life orb on that guy, normally a life orb takes away a little bit of health whenever you do a move, but with sheer force it does not. It gives them extra power, and then the life orb also gives them extra power. So his
Whoa.
moves would just do stupid amounts of damage, and if you did like a fire punch, you could see him doing. I could just see him doing that in my head, just fire punching shit to death, and stab doing an extra whatever the fuck amount percent. It's Darmanitan, people. He's great. If I had to pick a legendary, Victini is cool.
Talk about another
but
generation that had a ton of distribution
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
a shit ton. Yeah, I'd say Victini.
Excellent picks, Aaron. Excellent picks. I definitely was not a competitive battler type. So when you're saying audience, if you don't know, you're speaking directly to me. I was always a collector. I was just like, I want to catch them all. That's what the name of the game says. My 6, I picked Samurott. That was my starter.
Yep.
Super cool. His middle stage takes off the shells and throws them at people. That's cool. Having a weapon on your body. Golurk. Super cool. Ghost ground type and just this giant, tall creature thing.
I always name mine Iron Giant because he looks like the Iron Giant.
Good. That makes sense. Yes. Oh, another thing with Black White was they had like really, really late level evolutions, like level 60,
yeah,
70.
like in the 60s.
Yeah, I loved that.
Disgusting.
I loved it. I lived for the grind. So a couple of mine, Hydreigon. I'm not sure
Yep.
because it's got the Ein Zwei Dry, but Dragon makes more sense. He's got 3 heads, but 2 of them are actually hands, but they're heads. Who knows? Dark Dragon, cool combo. Volcarona, probably my favorite bug type. What a cool design.
Is super cool.
What a cool
I always
design.
thought these were legendary too. Like I always thought
Right?
Larvesta and Volcarona were legendary Pokemon, and they're not.
That's how you know they're good. And then I actually had 2 legendaries because I picked Victini as well. That was the first distribution one I got, and I remember showing my friends and being like, look, you can't catch this in the game. And they're like, I don't care. And then I really like Kyurem, Dragon Ice type. That was super cool.
First time for that typing too, I believe.
Yeah. I love unique typings.
Oh,
I forgot about Keldeo and how cool he is being water fighting. He's just a little horse. I like that.
Fighting horse.
Looking through this generation, these are all great Pokemon.
All bangers.
Like no lie, there's probably a few stragglers, but even then they're not terrible at all. I also went Samurott for this. This was the generation where I was not super happy with the starters. Samurott being the one that I enjoyed the most, even though I don't think I loved Samurott's final design as much because I liked the cute otter, or like the otter aesthetic that Samurott and Duat were going with.
It didn't make a lot of sense to me because you could see from step 1 to step 2 and then to step 3. You're like, how did we get here?
Like, what happened? How did this happen? I was like, sure, why not? I didn't love Embor and Snivy and Servine losing their arms in Superior. I was like, why? Yeah. You have less arms now. How is that helpful for you?
Have you seen Shiny Embor? He's pretty sweet. Instead of being like all orange and red, he's like all blue. It's awesome.
Shiny Embor is super cool. I will admit to that. The other Pokemon I have on here, which I think is the superior shiny, is Gigalith. Gigalith is probably the best shiny ever. It's like red crystals turned to like a neon blue. It's That's so cool. Love Gigalith. Excadrill, ground steel, just a really cool typing, and Excadrill hits like a truck and is incredibly fast.
Yeah, with Sand Rush, and then you pair him with like Tyranitar or something.
Yeah. I actually used a Whimsicott in my first playthrough of this. I liked Whimsicott and Cottony. I was trying to look for a grass type. I didn't love the like starter bug in Swaddle and Leavannia, but I was debating between, actually I think Cottony, Whimsicott, and then Petal of Lilligant were game exclusives, right? I'm pretty sure they were exclusive to either white and black. But I ended up using a Whimsicott. Crocodile, another just ground dark, just a big sand crocodile. It's hard to beat.
That's cool. Yeah, he's cool.
Yep. Cool.
And honestly, probably my favorite Pokemon from this generation is Crustle. I love Crustle so much. He's so cute. He's like he's a little crab living in a rock. And I think in Pokemon Unite also reignited my love for Crustle because I would play Crustle in Pokemon Unite too.
He's a fucking monster in Pokemon Unite.
Oh my gosh, there's so many others: Chandelure, Haxorus, Electros.
Dude, not to get off topic, but in Pokemon Unite, Crustle and one Mamoswine. Mamoswine.
Ooh, Mamoswine. Yeah.
Those are my mains in Pokemon Unite. But sorry, continue.
I can keep going on the naming of the Pokemon here. Probably one of my favorite legendaries. I really loved the genies, the Tornadus, Thundurus, Landorus. I really loved those, and having their oh gosh, I'm blanking on what their forms are called. Therian forms, where they turn to like the quadruped, like weird dog things. I thought that was super cool. The whole like this game had a very expansive like post game.
Yes,
there was a lot of side quests you can do, like with the glass mirror or whatever, to change Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus to their forms. Super cool.
Just exploring. I was just out grinding post game, and then I came upon a route, and it was like raining and storming, and everyone you talked to was like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, what is going on?" And then you find Thundurus. That was just such a cool introduction, instead of just being in a cave somewhere.
Yeah, this game had a pretty wild and expansive post game, which I thought was really interesting.
I completely forgot about Emolga and how much I love that little flying squirrel bastard. There's too many good ones in that generation. They're all awesome.
There is. Any last words for Pokemon Black and White 2? Excellent. Great last words.
That's my last words.
Next up, Pokemon X and Y. We're gone with colors, no materials. We're
now in letters.
Letters, X and Y. Let's see. I believe it's my turn to talk first. Was this 3DS or is this still?
This is the first 3DS one. Yeah.
3DS. Okay. I loved the 3D effect on my 3DS. I had it cranked to the max all the time. So getting to see those fights in 3D, loved it. Loved every second of it.
So yeah, Gen 6 was interesting for me because this is, I think this is post, I graduated high school, I had a job at this point, but I didn't play X and Y when they had first come out because I had bills to pay and I had other things. So I didn't have a 3DS actually until probably about a year or so later. So I was a little late to the X and Y game. But when I played it, I picked X because I thought the legendary for X was extremely cool and
Fairy
superior
types.
to the Y. Yeah, fairy types. We got a new typing in this generation, which is wild to think about. And we haven't got since then. I always thought they would like introduce more typings as the game's gone on, but I think fairy typing was, looking at it now, was a good addition, and it kind of put dragon types in their place because dragon types were kind of overpowered at this point with not having a ton of really hard-hitting ice types to take them out. So also...
I was gonna say that, and there was a lot of dark ghost types that weren't weak to anything that were now weak to fairy, which is good.
Yeah, like Sableye didn't have any weaknesses because it was dark and ghost, and you're like, well,
honestly, they were able to like retroactively make some fairy type that just made a ton of sense.
Like the Jigglypuff line and Clefairy, Snubble.
It was just this fairy makes way more sense than normal.
Yeah, but the introduction of fairy also like legitimized and gave some light to other typings that maybe were pushed to the back burner because fairy is weak against steel and poison. So now steel and poison have there's this new hard-hitting typing in fairy that's taking down dragons, and now steel and poison type end up being more relevant in this generation too. This was the first generation that I didn't start playing it, but I started watching a ton of competitive Pokemon. X and Y Wi-Fi battles I just watched on YouTube constantly during this generation. But yeah, one of the things was interesting was we never got a third. I'm pretty sure there was a third planned, and there's even content in areas in X and Y that seem like they have narrative through lines, and they just don't go anywhere.
Have we ever gotten an explanation for why there wasn't?
I don't know. I mean, my thought process was, like I said, they decided to instead maybe like development was more taxing for Sun and Moon. They decided to have all the focus on that with the next generation. But wait, after X and Y was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, actually.
Yes.
That was the one that was directly afterwards. So I don't know. I don't know why we never got a third.
And it's weird too because the big boy legendary was Zygarde with Z. So you would have thought that like, hey, it
just makes sense.
Because Diamond and Pearl had Giratina, but then Platinum focused more on Giratina, so you would have thought they would have done the same thing with X and Y. But
and Zygarde got zero love. You run into Zygarde in a cave in post game, and then Zygarde ended up getting more love in the generations going forward, but in X and Y when it's introduced, no love at all. And there's a whole section in the desert of this game. I think it's a power plant, and there's a locked door, and it's like, oh, you need a key. You can't get into it, which is supposed to be where Volcanion is, but you never get access. They never do anything with that area of the game. And I think Diancie, Hoopa, and Volcanion all ended up being distribution Pokemon too.
That sucks.
Aaron, do you have memories of X and Y?
This is another weird time in my life. I didn't actually... With Gens 4 and 5, these were times where like I was just moving around a lot, and I would be like hurrying through the games to return the system and the games back to whoever. And then X and Y, I didn't know anybody at the time who owned a 3DS or had these games, so I didn't play them. And I have Omega Ruby and I love it, but I haven't played X or Y yet. So I do like the Pokemon, but I haven't actually played the games. I've only experienced the Pokemon in the following generations after it. So
that's
I have a lot to say.
Kind of similar to what I was going to say is I have almost no memories of the game itself, but when I was looking through the Pokemon, I was like, ooh, there's actually a ton that I really like from this generation.
Right.
Yeah, they're all super cool.
And
the story for X and Y is another weird one. It's very similar to Pokemon Black, where the guy Lysander, which again, if you see this dude in the beginning of the game, you're like, that is a bad guy. He has bad guy written all over his face. He's like 8 feet tall, spiky red hair, a big like black leather jacket, and you're like, that's a bad guy. 100% that's a bad guy. But he's like, he loves Pokemon so much, and he has this emotional connection to Pokemon, but our world is flawed. There's so much hate and so much anger on our world, so he wants to destroy our world and restart so we can have a happy place for Pokemon. It's like, that makes no fucking sense, dude. What are you talking about?
Was this the one where at the end he had like, I don't remember, it was like the little grass type Pokemon, and
yeah, they introduced another
like
character, AZ, who was like a 3,000-year-old man.
Yeah.
Okay, so the cool thing about X and Y is they introduced this thing that apparently there was a Pokemon war that was happening, right? And the concept of that is fascinating. But to stop the war, they had to create this weapon called the Ultimate Weapon, and they used that and destroyed the world. Unfortunately, a bunch of Pokemon died, and the guy AZ, his God, what's the Pokemon? Oh, Floette. It was like her energy. Hated that her energy was being used to kill Pokemon and then dissipated and vanished, and he wandered the Earth sad for 3,000 years, something like that. Don't know how. They don't explain whatsoever.
Yeah, I got none
character.
of that from it, and I just remember that last cutscene, and I was like, "What is any of this?"
Yeah. It's honestly, it's a wild game. I would say play through them because they introduce very interesting locales. There's a lot of interesting locations there. I think in just kind of its presentation and how they went marketing this game, it was almost kind of like a refresh. Like this felt like they wanted it to be the Gen 1 for the next generation. Like this was going to be people's games. Like kids were going to start with X and Y, and that was going to be their introduction to Pokemon. And it's really cool. Aside from the batshit crazy narrative that is X and Y, the locations you go to are cool. And again, this is the first 3D Pokemon game.
Yeah.
This is the first fully 3D rendered Pokemon game that we got.
I was gonna add too. How about like that whole mystery thing with that ghost girl that like shows up for no reason in that one tower? She's like, "No, you're not the one," and then nothing is ever done about that. It just happened.
And this could be a false fact as well in my brain that I just made up. But I'm pretty sure that was associated to your trainer ID. And you had a very specific trainer ID to get the interaction from her, and she just gives you an item.
Oh, bizarre.
It's like you got 10 orange berries. It was more significant than orange berries, but it was nothing significant where having a very specific trainer ID would justify the item that you got.
Man, any last words from anyone before we get to our 6?
Nope.
Nope, that's it.
Wonderful. Okay, I actually recounted, and it's me that's starting. So. Chestnut was my starter. I was really happy with his final evolution. He starts off as like an adorable little thing, and then he's got his weird middle thing, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a big spiky thing that's gonna beat you up." I'm like, sick. Goomy, I loved Goomy from the moment I saw him.
Goomy is so cute.
His stupid face. Oh, I can't get enough of that stupid face.
Stupid.
I love it. Man, Aegislash. Ghost Steel type, and also a sword and shield. I just love that idea.
Unique ability too, and it's like stance change, how it changes into like its attack and defense form.
Yeah, Malamar I really liked because again I think it was dark psychic typing, which I thought was super cool. Yeah, and you have to evolve it by flipping your 3DS upside down.
Yeah, upside down. So weird. This is the introduction to just weird ass evolution mechanics that they use going forward. That they go from a 0 to 100 with some of these.
I loved back then, and I hate now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. Yeah.
The best fossil Pokemon, in my opinion, including Tyrantrum, which is just a big-ass T-Rex.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no going wrong here. Tyrantrum is great.
Yeah. And then I liked Yveltal, or Evil, however you want to pronounce that one. My big bacon bird.
The bacon bird. Because the shiny legit looks like he's a bacon bird. Yeah. For me, 100% went Greninja. When I saw a frog ninja, its tongue is literally a scarf around its neck.
So weird.
It's strange, 100%. If you've seen it with like it in some of the anime and some of the pictures where it's like scarf is off its neck, it's a weird looking Pokemon. But being water dark is a really cool typing. I think the bird in this generation is probably one of the best Talonflame. Not only just competitively viable, everyone was using a Talonflame in Gen 6 competitive battles, but Fire Flying is incredibly fast, massive attack stat too.
Gale Wings and Brave Bird, dude, he was super broken,
destroying people. Skrelp and Dragalge, I think, are so.
Those are so
not only
forgotten.
I know they're forgotten. No one remembers these, but they're adorable. I love both of them and their naming conventions. Skrelp and Dragalge, I think, is just so cool. Poison Dragon too is such a cool type. Yeah, I was just gonna say
Dragon Poison, which like you don't usually get, quote unquote, basic dragon types that are like not obviously dragons.
Let's see. Is that 3? I think that's 3. Sure. I like Helioptile and Heliolisk I always forget they're normal electric.
Yeah.
Which I don't
Yeah,
think we have
it's
another
super
normal
weird.
electric type.
I don't think we've ever gotten.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think so
I guess,
either.
yeah, no.
I'm gonna second Tyrantrum
Yeah.
because it's such a cool Pokemon, and its shiny being all blue is incredibly cool. Like I love its shiny. Let's see, and then Yveltal. I also went X because Yveltal, in my opinion, was like so much cooler than Xerneas, and
That
I like
wimpy
Zygarde. I
deer.
think, yeah, Wimpy Deer over my massive. I mean, I think Xerneas just destroys Yveltal because Yveltal's dark and Xerneas
Totally.
is very. Also, it gets Geomancy, which is an incredibly broken move too. So Xerneas is a good competitive Pokemon. But Yveltal is. Everyone knows you got to look cool. That's how you win.
Bacon Bird, yeah.
Bacon Bird.
I forgot to mention this in, I think it was Gen 5, but what is that? There's that one fossil Pokemon that's like it's like an Archaeopteryx. I forget what the hell its name.
Archeops.
Archeops, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Me and a buddy of mine, we always call him PJ Bird because he looks like he's wearing footy pajamas.
He
That's
does
PJ
have
Bird.
little PJs on. That's
Yeah.
adorable.
Yep.
I like that.
My sixth though, we're doing the trio again, dude. I went with Delphox because it's just
Ooh.
it's a little
There we
fox
go.
switch, dude. Little fox switch with a little fire stick. I like Delphox. And then Wizard whatever. Then I went with Pyroar because it's just his main. It looks like it's just made of fire. He's super cool, dude.
Yep.
Fire normal actually too. There's another weird
Oh, is
one.
he really fire
Another-
normal?
I didn't
Fire
realize he
normal.
was fire normal. That's so strange.
Me either.
And then I like he's kind of dumb, but I like Clawitzer because it's just a little shrimp dude.
No, I
with,
love Clawitzer. He's cute.
Yeah, with the little big old claw, and then his Mega Launcher move, or his Mega Launcher ability is super cool, and his shiny form is pretty sweet 'cause he's all red instead of blue. And Hawlucha, because
Yes.
Ooh,
it's
I
a
loved
Looper,
Hawlucha.
dude. Flying, fighting, and he's I think like the only Pokemon that has a move that has two types.
Yeah.
Was it Flying
Yeah.
Press?
Yeah.
There were so many like decisions and gimmicks that they introduced that they're just like, yeah, we're not doing that going forward. We're never gonna do the dual typing move again.
Dude, and he has like the coolest shiny form ever. Like instead of just being, well, I guess he is kind of flip flop. Like his wings are black and purple, and his mask is like dark blue and green, and his body is red. It's sweet.
Yes.
And then Tyrantrum, because I mean, dude,
I'll subscribe to this Tyrantrum train here.
yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to the Tyrantrum podcast. But yeah, Rock Dragon, and he's just a big fucking stompy boy. Oh my gosh, and his abilities are both really good. Strong Jaw and Rock Head. And then my last one is Heliolisk, because
Yeah.
can't go wrong with that guy. He's so awesome. I love his little lizard man design. He's just
And he
just
gets
chilling,
dry
dude.
skin too, which
Oh yeah,
he has such a
Forgot
good
about Dry
ability.
Skin. Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Also, another legendary, Volcanion being the first fire water type.
Yeah. What a bizarre typing that they made work.
Yeah.
How is he a legendary
Yes.
for Gen 6? That one?
Yes.
Yeah. There were the Diancie, Hoopa, and Volcanion were the three distribution Pokemon for this generation. None of them show up in the game. They're all distribution Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was also I intermittently watched from Gen 1 to now the Pokemon anime, and I fell off in like Gen 4 and I didn't watch Gen 5, but Gen 6 anime, even if you're not like into Pokemon because it's a little cheesy with its writing, I understand. But honestly, some of the like best animated fights in this genre, it's wild. Like they're so well animated, it's crazy that they decided to go this hard for a Pokemon anime.
Oh, and wasn't that about the time they changed the animation style too? Because Ash looked a
Yeah.
lot different.
Yep, Ash looked a lot edgier. He looked older, I guess, just because of how they decided to draw him. But if you go back and watch this, just watch the gym leader fights and then watch the like the Elite Four or the champion battles at the very end. You don't have to deal with any of the BS or rest of this, but just watch those because it's so cool.
Nice. All right. That was X and Y. We are at what, 2/3 of the way through the games now.
Yep.
Excellent. Next up, Sun and Moon, objects in the
Yes.
sky. And
Mhm.
I'm very excited because it is Jared's turn to go first. Let's
Yeah,
hear it.
Sun and Moon. Are we gonna lump Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon in this too?
Let's do it.
Yeah, might
Alright,
as
cool.
well. They all have the same.
Yeah, so
Ultra.
same thing with this. I bought this the day it came out, and yeah, it's funny because I remember where I was. I wasn't sure because I think I had just bought a game, or I was spending money. I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't, but I was like standing in my room, I was talking to my wife on the phone. I was like, should I do it? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, I'm going to do it. It was like midnight. I just drove over to GameStop and I picked up a copy of Pokemon Sun and I played it that night. But an interesting one for sure. Decided to kind of deviate from the traditional gyms. Instead, we were presented with trials, which, I mean, in retrospect, are gyms. Like they're gyms basically, but going through a trial and then at the end of that trial fighting a totem Pokemon, which is a strong version of a Pokemon in this generation. Their gimmick. Oh my gosh, we didn't talk about Megas in X and Y at all. That was wild.
I didn't remember when they were, so I didn't want to say it.
But this game's gimmick was Z crystals. I wasn't really a fan of Z crystals. Out of all the mechanics, they were my least
not as good.
Favorite. They also like represented the badges that you get. Like you had to collect 8 or 10 of them as you went around these different islands. But Alola, the theme and the setting being kind of like Hawaii, this kind of island theme, set up some really interesting locales in this game too. Volcanoes, grasslands, a lot of water. With Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, actually, these are the one Pokemon games that I haven't played through. I've watched a playthrough of them, but I haven't beat Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon because when those games came out, they didn't seem as different enough to justify buying them. But I think, in looking back at it now, I think that's probably like the definitive version of that. They mitigate some of the cumbersome start. Like I think in Sun and Moon, you don't get your starter till like maybe 30 minutes into that game, which is wild to think about. Yeah, I think they were cool. I like them. I like Sun and Moon.
Aaron.
Yeah, I also really liked Sun and Moon because this was around the time where I actually got a 3DS for these games. Because when I started my job that I work at now, so many years ago, my buddies were huge into Pokemon and they were buying these games at the midnight release, and I also went and got Sun at the midnight release, and I spent a lot of time on these games because me and my buddies we'd sit at work doing the battle tree, and we would do the multi battles where you could
the battle tree. Yes.
Yeah, dude. You could partner up with a buddy, and just face other trainers in double battles, and we would make just the most ridiculous competitive teams. And I did quite a few.
That's so fun to do.
I did a lot of competitive breeding and played a lot of competitive battles. And oh my god, yeah, they were super fun. I love all the locales, like the whole island theme, and with the kahunas, and I like all the Pokemon designs. The legendaries are sweet. And then when Ultra Sun and Moon came out, I went the opposite route and got Ultra Moon, and I played through that, and I thought it was all right. There wasn't a whole lot different other than like maybe the new Ultra Beasts, but
that's what I was gonna say. I was like, the Ultra Beasts were the kind of the best part of those games.
Yeah, and then other than that, it was kind of all right. Like it was kind of more of the same with like a little sprinkle of new stuff. So it was interesting.
This game also getting rid of HMs in the term of like your Pokemon. These Pokemon that kind of take the place of those HMs, which I think is cool. You can ride them. You can ride a Tauros, fly on your Charizard, which I thought was cool.
Oh wait, before we go to Tommy, I wanted to add too that the Z moves definitely not as cool as like Mega Evolutions or everything else that came after, like Gigantamax and the Terrestrial Eyes. The Z moves were kind of meh.
Yeah, pretty 100%.
Yep. Now you can go, Tommy.
Excellent. I try my best not to be negative because I think video games should be celebrated. So I will not go too much on this. I hated Sun and Moon. I have nothing but disdain when I think about them. I did not like the locale. I did not like the non-gyms. I liked the idea at first. I was like, oh, they're doing something different. But then I was like, this isn't fun. I don't like trials. I don't like the totem Pokemon. I didn't like the islands. I didn't like the locales. It just having the map and it just felt like I was always getting interrupted.
The Rotom phone.
I didn't like. What else? There was something else that we were talking about. Oh, no, it's gone again. But what else did that game have? There was so much.
There was the dumb like photos that you had to do with the Rotom phone that were like mandatory at some parts of the tutorial, which weren't cool. This was the generation that you couldn't turn off. Oh, go for it.
Yeah. The Ultra Beasts. I don't know what I did wrong. I played the whole game. I never figured out where they were or how to get to them. That could be on me, but I never experienced any Ultra Beasts except for the story jellyfish that you had to experience. Nothing. I don't know if I missed the person to talk to or if I just gave up before then, but I beat the Elite Four, but I I never saw an Ultra Beast.
Yeah, they were like after the game. You had to go like talk to
Yeah,
somebody, and then you'd get the balls, and then yeah.
I'm
Right.
sure I was
After you
just
beat the
I
Elite
was just
Four, you can go
angry
and
after
fight
the
them.
Elite Four, and I was like, I did it. I'm done. So I apologize,
man.
but I see that I'm outnumbered, so we will consider my opinion wrong.
No, your
No, your
opinion
opinion's valid.
it's 100% valid. Yeah.
I would not go back to play that one.
Oh man, that was when they started doing the more realistic human proportions for the
Yeah.
characters as well too, which I thought was like kind of uncanny at first, but then they kind of grow on it, and it was pretty cool. I like
One thing that I always do too in these games is that this game continued the character customization, and I spent all of my money on clothes. My Pokemon are like dead dying. They're like, hyper potions, please, and I'm like, but this cool hat though.
That's what I did in this, and then in Sword and Shield, I made my guy look just as fucking stupid as possible. What was your team, my guy?
Is it me, right?
Yep, it
Yep.
is you.
Yeah, so this generation, I went back to grass. I went to Sidgewai.
Yeah.
I thought the ghost owl,
Mhm.
ghost grass owl type, and he's also like an archer, was so cool.
His
I
special
wasn't
move
a
was
huge
cool too.
Oh yeah, oh gosh, something shackles, spectral shackles or something like that. I don't
Yep.
remember. But I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Dartrix, but I think most of the time the middle evolutions are pretty meh anyways. But this was a tough one between this or Incineroar, and I ended up going to Sidgewai because I was like, I like the archer concept is super cool.
A little hoodie on. The
It
situation
has a little hoodie. It's adorable.
Yep.
I ran a toucan the entire time because I think that
Whoa.
he's just a
Yes.
grumpy little toucan, and I love it. He's just
Dude.
a toucan, but I love it's so cool.
Mhm.
And he has ability. I think it's Beak Blast. Not ability. His special move is Beak Blast, which I think is just a flying type move, but can burn, which is interesting.
Whoa.
Yep.
The bug in this generation just hit like a truck. Vikavolt is such a cool design.
Yep.
Bug electric. It's colors, it's aesthetic. I was down from the very beginning when I saw Vikavolt. After that, Lycanroc. Rockruff and Lycanroc, there was no way I wasn't running these on my team. And it was cool that Lycanroc had different forms. It had the like dawn form and the dusk form and like the midnight form. I think midnight was I like dusk just because it was interesting and it had like the orange aesthetic to it, but the midnight form almost being like a werewolf I thought was really interesting.
Yes.
Salazzle I think was another one that I ran on my team. I also thought this was interesting, another complicated evolution where only the females can evolve. And I had a friend, because this is where I started shiny hunting too. I didn't actually get any shinies in this game, but I had a friend that caught a shiny Salandit, but it was male.
Oof.
So he could never evolve it. And I was like, dude, that sucks.
That's rough.
Golisopod is probably the other one that I ran to the end. Because I think everybody's like, oh, look at little Wimpod. But Golisopod, seeing that evolution, seeing that Pokemon for the first time was so cool. It has such a cool design.
What is that? That's terrifying.
Yeah. And I think that was probably the theme with these Pokemon. Like Gen 5 had its aesthetic to it, and I think Gen 6 kind of tried to go back to like the Gen 1, but they like really went with it with the designs of the Generation 7 Pokemon, because they're all just out of here and crazy.
Yeah, dude.
As for the legendaries, I went with Sun, so I had Solgaleo, which I think I like Solgaleo better than Lunala, but probably was one of the best legendaries. Necrozma. Necrozma is such a cool legendary.
Ooh, here's another one for you. What's your favorite Ultra Beast, including the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, of course?
Naganadel. Boypole and Naganadel are my favorite. Poison Dragon, and they just have a really cool. I love their color scheme, the like purple, violet, pink kind of color to them. Yeah, those are mine.
Yes.
I don't have one. Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, also Guzzlord. If you haven't heard Guzzlord's cry in the anime, please go look at it because it is hilarious. It's literally just a man screaming. That's his cry.
Just like the Wilhelm scream.
Aaron, what are your 6?
Ooh, okay. So yeah, these ones this was really tough because I like them a lot. My starter I picked Incineroar because when I first played the games, I picked Poplio because I thought, dude, Poplio is cute as shit, and then he evolves to Brionne,
Yeah,
and
really
it's
not
like
a fan of that evolutionary line.
Brionne is and then you get a Primarina, and it's like it's pretty. It's a dog, seal, mermaid, but no, Incineroar.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Primarina.
Yeah, Incineroar just rocks, dude. Fire Dark, you can't go wrong. And then you get to Araquanid, who I really liked because his ability was cool, and he's just like a water spider, and he learns a lot of really sweet stab moves like liquidation and leech life and stuff like that. He's really tanky. That was one of my competitive picks. He's really good. Serena, what I don't know how to describe it.
The grass fighting.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is it grass? Oh no, they're just pure grass. I thought they're grass fighting.
Yeah, she learns a lot of kicking moves though, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Like, she's just really cool. She's like a princess basically looking. And then Palisand, the big sand castle.
I love Palisand, the ghost sand castle.
Ghost sand. And then his ability water contraction is really, or water compaction, sorry, is really good. Just absorbs.
Contraction. He's having contractions.
Dude, he's having a baby. But yeah, his water compaction basically gave him one less weakness, and that was super cool.
Being immune to water is really cool.
Dude, I wish I was. And then I also picked Toucanon because his moves are sweet. He's got good stats. His shiny form is really, really cool. He's just super rad. And then the last one for my team, I picked Crabominable because his arms are just fucking nuts. And he's ice fighting. Big fucking angry looking Yeti motherfucker, and
I liked Crabominable, but having to evolve him in like the last end of the game in that one area, I did not like.
You beat me to it.
It was a big piece of shit, but so I'm gonna pick a legendary. I'd say Marshadow. Marshadow, super cool.
Marshadow's good.
And then an Ultra Beast, I'd say Xurkitree. Xurkitree is awesome.
Ooh, Xurkitree's good too.
Good picks. Good picks. I also picked Decidueye. Love that ghost grass guy with his arrows and stuff. That's super cool. I picked Crab Brawler specifically because I didn't look up how to evolve. I looked up the Pokemon beforehand, but not how to evolve them, and so I just got furious. I was like,
this guy just won't evolve.
I know he evolved. When is he gonna evolve? And then I finally looked it up, like just before I got to the Elite Four, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I have to go to this specific area? What? Oh, so mad. I loved Crab Brawler though. He's a cool guy, but that just really made me mad. Mudsdale. I picked Mudsdale.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He's got an ability, you guys. I don't know if you've heard of these things called Pokemon abilities, but whenever he gets hit, his defense goes up. He's just
stamina.
A
Such a good ability.
I picked Beware because he's like a 6-foot tall stuffed bear. He like you see him and you're like, oh, that's cool, but then you learn that he's like a giant, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
He's so beefy too. He just does not die.
Well, also massive attack stat, which is insane for this guy.
So fun.
Also, his Pokedex entry is wild. It's like he loves hugs, but he can like snap people in half. So he wants to like give people hugs, but he just keeps breaking people instead.
It's terrifying. I love it.
Ew.
I also picked Golisopod because coolest, scariest bug type, and then my last pick was Lunala because I think it's cool.
Lunala is cool, dude.
I like Lunala. I really like. There's another Pokemon they introduced here, which was the weird Chimera one, which was type Null, which was the artificial Pokemon. Yeah, it was like it was implemented into the narrative of the game too. It was when it got announced, it was so well. Its name in general, type Null, meaning that like it's just normal. It's a legendary Pokemon.
I think it's considered one, but I don't agree.
Yeah, because I'm looking. I have like the Pokedex pulled up, and it's like type Null is a normal legendary Pokemon. I was like, I didn't realize it was a legendary.
One of my favorite Pokemon for when I did online battles a lot, I had this doubles team of this ridiculous Snorlax with Comfey. And one of Comfey's abilities, Triage, makes it so healing moves have +3 priority, which basically they go at the beginning of the turn, and it's sweet. So it would be like Snorlax would do belly drum, eat his berry, go to full health, and then he had like heavy slam and high horsepower, and he would just demolish everything,
destroy things. Okay, wait. We have to talk about this Pokemon because unfortunately this generation introduced my least favorite Pokemon in the world, which is fucking Bruxish.
Yeah, what is that thing?
Weird. Why does it have bedroom eyes? Why is it looking at me like that?
Ugh.
I'm uncomfortable.
The shiny form is really gross too. It's like Ronald McDonald.
Oh, don't say that. I have to look at it now. But they also introduced one of my underrated Pokemon that I love, which is Drampa. I loved Rampa so much.
That's another
cool.
weird looking one. Grandpa Dragon.
He's a grandpa dragon. He's just old. He's just trying to get by.
Yes. So that was Sun and Moon. Nothing else to be said about them. Now it's time for Sword and Shield Weapons of Battle. We're on the Switch now. We got big boy graphics. Aaron, it is your turn to start. What do you think about Sword and Shield?
Yeah, Sword and Shield I played a pretty decent amount of those. It was cool that they tried to be more open about them, but they were all right. Why, I guess I kind of contradicted myself at first by saying they were cool, but they were all right. They were cool because, higher resolution is an actual like console Pokemon game, and they looked great, they played great, but there just wasn't a whole lot to them because you just went from like town to town and just did your gym battles and went to the wild area to catch some dudes and do like 1,000 raids. But yeah, the Pokemon were cool. Though I like the Pokemon for sure, but the game itself was just kind of But I made my character look absolutely ridiculous in the game because he had these big round glasses that had yellow lenses in them.
Yeah.
And then his facial expression was just like a neutral expression. And then he had this big dumb like green Applin sweater on, and he had like purple pants and like big combat boots, and oh my gosh, I liked the actual like trainer customization was cool.
Nice. I had Shield and I really liked it. I enjoyed the wild zones a lot. As my collect 'em all brain, the wild zone was awesome. Oh, it was so great. There's just having tons of areas, and they changed throughout the day at like different times what was available, and I really liked doing the raids and trying to catch things. It really hooked me in a big way, and so I played a ton of it, and I caught all of them that you could catch in the game, and then I did the raid to catch more, and the story didn't hook me, but I really liked the beefed up graphics. It really never looked better than it did, and even just like going along the routes, being able to see things in the distance, and it felt really cool. Really good to explore that one, to me at least, and I really have nothing but good thoughts for Shield. The Sword and Shield haired guys and their random appearance.
So weird. Why?
I did not like that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can go, Aaron. I'm done.
I just wanted to add to mine that I liked the locales everywhere you go. Like everything was unlike a certain other game, the towns all like had their own specific flavor and made sense according to what the different locale was and everything like that. The DLC was cool, but Jared, go ahead. I'll stop talking.
No, I agree. I loved Sword and Shield. I had Shield as well. I played through this game 3 times back to back because I'm a maniac. But this was a game it was on the Switch. So because you had multiple profiles, I can have a profile that was my main one, that I was collecting Pokemon. I wanted to run through this in a Nuzlocke, so I did that on a separate profile. And then I wanted to run through it and use Pokemon that I normally don't. So I did it 3 times in a row, which was a lot at first. That's why I eventually went to the DLC, but I didn't get the DLC right when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with the narrative. I think the characters in the game are really interesting, especially the gym leaders. I think they're just one of the more memorable gym leaders for sure. Especially having like the game exclusives having their own exclusive gym leader. Like there's a gym leader in one that you can't encounter in the other one, which I thought was really interesting. But narrative wise, I think that it's a silly, dumb narrative. The whole story of like Eternatus and the Darkest Day, it just falls on its face immediately, and I'm like, I'm not here for this. That's fine. Okay, you can have a garbage story, but the towns and the cities have so much personality into it. Aaron, I don't know if you were referring to what game specifically, but looking back at some of even jumping back into Sword and Shield post Scarlet and Violet, I realized how like lacking some of the cities in Scarlet and Violet feel. Yep. They just feel like they're devoid. Flavorless. Yeah, flavorless. Yep. They feel devoid of personality. Where like when you get into that main big city in Sword and Shield, right after I forget the name of it. It starts with an M, but I can't think of it. After the wild area, and you get to that city, it's just like it has so much character to it. Yep. Yeah, which we just didn't get in these newer games, but. Locales were super interesting. Yeah, exactly. Locales are super interesting. I loved the characters. I think the DLC definitely helped with it. I think that the Crown Tundra was probably my favorite, the ice kind of themed area that introduced the dens, the raid dens that you can do. You can counter all the legendaries from the previous games and shiny hunt them. This was the first game that I shiny hunt. I did the encounter method, which I think if you can counter like 30 Pokemon or so, then it increased the shiny odds. I caught a shiny Frostmoth in this game.
Ooh.
I did the egg method, and literally I was gonna do Rufflet because I love Braviary, and I think they have a cool shiny. And literally the very first egg that I hatched was a shiny Rufflet.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, it was the very first one. So shiny Braviary was one of my first shinies that I caught in that game. But yeah, looking back at Sword and Shield, I really loved and enjoyed the entire experience. The Pokedex is good, characters are fun, the world is interesting, story is lacking, but I mean, who's really coming to these games for their deep story narrative anyways?
I forgot. Sword or Shield
and the camping.
the
Sorry,
camping.
go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
you
Go
talk
ahead.
about the camping.
Yeah.
All right, I was gonna say the camping is really cool. That was something that has never been done before. Just anywhere, just stop and just
Play their
fucking
Pokemon.
put up a tent, and you could make like I think it was like soup or something, or no curry. You made curry with your Pokemon,
Mhm.
and it was those. I am an absolute sucker for cooking mechanics in games, so I would
You
just
are.
I would have all sorts of fucking ingredients. I would go to each town, buy just a shit ton of each ingredient, and I would just make whatever the hell at the time. And then I would
Did
hang
you,
out with my Pokemon and like throw balls around and like tickle them with that wand and shit, and that was super
Gross.
cool.
Did you complete the curry decks?
No, there was a bunch I was missing.
Yeah, this was the first game that I completed the Pokedex. Was Sword and Shield.
That's what I was gonna say. I had a living dex for this one where I had a
Yep, I did the same thing.
yeah, where you actually have each individual one and not just record of catching them.
It's wild that people do shiny living dexes. That
No
blows
way.
my
No,
mind.
thank you.
That's what yeah, that'd take way too fucking long.
What was your 6, Aaron?
Starting us off strong, I really liked Inteleon. He's like a little
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
well, I like Sobble. He's a cute little bastard, little
Yes.
cute
Yes.
little tadpole, and then his second form is like a hot topic manager. And then and then you get to Inteleon, and he's cool. He's just like a little like secret agent lizard guy, and when he does his special move, he does like the little finger guns
finger
and shoots
guns,
a laser
yeah.
beam, and I like Inteleon. He's cool as fuck. And then Scorch, I really liked, like a fire centipede. I'm a sucker for that too. Centipedes and millipedes and shit like that. I thought that was cool. His Gigantamax form is also
Oh
super
yeah, the
fucking
Dynamax
sweet.
and Gigantamax.
Not a fan,
Is-
but
yeah.
I appreciate it.
His Gigantamax form is like it's super fucking cool. He's like infinitesimal or in whatever. He's a lot longer. We'll move on. Grapple Locked I thought was cool. A fucking octopus that
Yeah.
just punches.
good idea.
And I thought that was super duper cool. Poltegeist, I liked him and his design, and I liked his. He's got good stats. He's got a sweet ability. He's pretty cool. Fuck trying to get an authentic one though, because you have to look on like the bottom of him and see if he has
Yeah.
that label. That was
So
bullshit.
wild.
So bizarre.
Arctozolt, I thought was super cool. He's my favorite of the fossil dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what? I really had Obstagoon? What the fuck?
Oh wow, you had it to the end there.
It has
I guess, yeah. My last one, I guess, is going to be between Obstagoon with his insane fucking shiny form and Grimmsnarl.
good picks. Good picks. I picked Rillaboom.
Mm.
Let's see, is
Ooh.
that three straight grass starters for me? He's fine. I also had
He's all right. He's all right.
He's cool. I like him.
Corviknight. Oh man, that's probably my favorite flying or my favorite bird type because he's just a
Such a cool design.
big
for
suit
sure.
of armor in a bird form. I love it.
It's cool.
Chewtle is my typical stupid face Pokemon. He's just walking around with his mouth open, so you gotta love that. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Kaparaja.
Abaraja, yeah.
The big,
Yeah.
the big
Elephant.
Elephant with the scoopy nose. I just love his colors and his design. He just looks really cool. Dragapult is
Mm-hmm.
ghost
I knew that
dragon
was
type,
coming.
and he's got his little babies on his shoulders. So
Super cool. Shoots his little children at
Yeah, yeah, can't beat that. And then Zamazenta, the shield dog. I just
Yeah.
like you don't get very many beefy legendaries, so it's nice to have like a defensive focused one.
you. A defense.
I'm not
one,
sure if
yeah.
his stats were like that, but just how he looked.
Oh, yeah. He's hella tanky.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
and
I didn't want to
and
sound
their
like I didn't know what I
abilities,
was
their
talking
abilities
about.
reflected that too.
That's my
Dauntless
six.
Shield and Intrepid Sword, I think, was their abilities.
That sounds right.
For my team, I also went with Rillaboom.
Boom.
I picked this one. I thought Grookey was adorable. I wasn't really convinced on Scorbunny and Sobble. I've gone around to Cinderace and Inteleon now, but I was 100% Grookey. I really don't like Thwacky. I don't like the middle evolution. I don't know if it's this weird piss-colored like fur or his just awkward stage, but I was not a fan. But Rillaboom definitely carries that line for sure.
Yeah, he's cool.
All Pokemon being single typing, which is not getting any dual type starters.
That's weird.
I remember the team that I used because in this game, after you beat the Elite Four, when you boot up Pokemon Sword and Shield, it has the team you beat the Elite Four on the title screen, which I always loved. So I had Rillaboom, and then I ran Orbeetle because I really thought I caught Blipbug, and I was like, he's all right. Let me try it out because this generation I also tried to avoid like a ton of spoilers. I went into this knowing little to nothing about the game, so I ran into a lot of the Pokemon genuinely and uniquely in the game, which was really fun. But I was like, let's see where Blipbug goes. Ended up really loving Orbeetle. After that, I used Colossal. Colossal was really cool, and his ability Steam Engine? I don't know, Steam Engine. Hits with water type moves and boosts his
speed by 6 stages.
Holy shit. That's right. It maxes out his stage. Yeah. I had Toxtricity, and I just thought Toxtricity was incredibly cool. Such a cool Pokemon. Electric and Poison.
In high school.
Yes. Having the different forms depending on its nature was another weird evolution split that they literally like cut the natures in half, and they're like, if it's this nature, it'll be this form, and it's this nature, it'll be the opposite form. Grimmsnarl was the other one on my team. Grimmsnarl being dark and fairy just also like hits like a truck. Such a good Pokemon. Has a lot of access to a lot of really cool moves. And then I had Dragapult. Honestly, probably one of the best pseudo legendaries we've gotten recently.
Yes.
And I had Zamazenta as my legendary too.
It's super weird how there was like 1 or 2 Pokemon that had to know a certain move before they could evolve. Because Grapploct, or his first form had to know Taunt before you could level him up. And then there was like 1 or 2 others. I think it was like Barraskewda.
I really wanted Grapploct to be water fighting.
That makes the most sense.
He should have been. It makes
it's just fighting type.
Dude.
So strange. Weird. So strange. But we got some new legendaries with the DLC. We got new Reggies, which I thought was really interesting. Regieleki and Regidrago. I was not expecting to see new legendaries in a Gen 8 Pokemon. But one of my favorites, I really like Urshifu. I think Urshifu is just a cool designed Pokemon for sure.
He is cool.
DLC. So I had no experience with it. There was someone in a train station that was like, look, it's a Slowpoke from the DLC. You can have it. And I'm like, oh, thank you. But I'm still not
nudge, nudge. Press A to open up the eShop store.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all right. The DLC is fine. I would say that it's more, if you like the wild area, it's a better wild area. The DLC entirely is just like the wild area.
Yeah, like the mines and shit. You could do like a party raid kind of thing. Yeah, something like that.
So that is Sword and Shield. And next up, Scarlet and Violet. We made it to the present day. We're back to colors.
We're here.
They're different colors, but they're the same colors. And
exactly.
It's still on the Switch. Everything's open now. No routes. 0 routes. All open. And it is my turn to start. I will try to not take everyone's talking points because I'm sure we all have a lot to say since it's fresh in our mind. The first few hours, I was in love with this game. I was enamored. I was like, this is everything I wanted it to be. And then as I kept, I'm the type that has to touch every corner of an area that I'm exploring. And I think that's the wrong way to play this, but I can't help myself. And I have fallen madly out of love with it. I don't enjoy exploring. It just feels like the number of Pokemon in each area is too small with how big they are. I don't really feel like there's a purpose to having big open areas. Like the desert is just a big old desert. I don't enjoy the new Star Street or the big battles.
The Team Star.
Yeah. I don't. There's less and less that I'm enjoying about it, but like there's still a part of me that's like, when I get through everything and I can start my collecting brain, I'm sure I'll turn around. But it's just getting to that point that's tough. I only have like 4 gym badges. I'm struggling. But that's where I'm at right now. What about you, guest?
Yeah, this was an interesting one for sure because Scarlet and Violet presented a slew of other issues that weren't necessarily just content. Like this game had so many technical problems, more than people had their issues with Sword and Shield post-launch, talking about the trees and Dexit and all that stuff. But the game functioned as a game.
Yeah,
this game barely does that sometimes. And I think the biggest thing for me is I like the visuals. Fine, whatever, they're not great. I don't necessarily have a big issue with that. I like the collection aspect of it as well. I like collecting Pokemon. I like seeing new forms. That's what I like about Pokemon. But the frame rate dips get me so much. It pulls me out of the experience. It's so jarring. It's so jarring to walk into an area and go from like struggling 30s, maybe high 20 frames to just like 10 frames. And you're jumping on your ride Pokemon. It's a picture show of your Pokemon flying through the sky. I enjoyed the game. I think that they presented an interesting mechanic in the sense of it being open world and you can kind of go wherever you want. Unfortunately, that also presented some issues in the sense that, yeah, you can go anywhere you want, but you're not going to be able to fight some of these Pokemon because they're going to be incredibly strong, which I think is an RPG thing. If you travel into areas you're not supposed to go to, you're going to get destroyed, which happens in this game. But having the 3 paths in the gyms and the Titan fights and the the Team Star camps, I thought presented an interesting path in conversation in seeing how people tackled the game and where they traveled and what they did first. Especially because on the map, it'll literally number from 1 to however many things there are. It'll show you what you did when. And I've had a lot of cool conversations talking to people and seeing their thought process of like, oh, I did this gym first, or I just fully explored, or I got all of the Titans so I can get all of the traversal capabilities and things like that. So, but ultimately, I haven't finished it. I've finished all the things, and I have to do the Elite Four at this point. But I would say I've enjoyed my experience of the game.
Good. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good. I mean, they're definitely not perfect. They have a lot of issues. If anything, I didn't care at all for the Team Star bullshit. I thought it was just there. Like the story was kind of touching and cool, but like they could have definitely done something different with that. I guess I also didn't care for the Titan Pokemon thing. I did that all. I did all the Titan Pokemon first, so I could get all the moves from the traversal guy and go anywhere and do anything. I really liked that. I like the openness of the world. Really, that feels like that's what the new Pokemon games should be. I like being able to just go to the top of a mountain and look out and see like the entire island and all the other little tiny surrounding islands and being able to see all that and then just jump down and go anywhere just without any loading screens or anything like that. It does suck that it launched in I wouldn't say it's like unplayable, but some parts the frame rate does dip super low, and yeah, we've said this before. I hate that the towns are just so boring. They're all the buildings.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the towns. Yeah,
all the towns look
so sad.
I should say all the buildings in each town look exactly the same. Like the gym leader buildings, for example, they're all the same. Nothing's different about them. But in like Sword and Shield, there was like that one ice town where I couldn't explain it, but everything is just the same in Scarlet.
Like I'm sorry for interrupting, but like I don't even talk to people anywhere I go because I'm like nothing. I'm not getting like any flavor or any.
Yeah, which is something that I did so much in other Pokemon games. You would go explore like a motel and you talk to people like, oh, this person gave me a choice band or this, but like you would have like interesting like NPCs that maybe didn't go anywhere, but I was not in being an open world, in being motivated to explore and kind of do every nook and cranny you can do. I was not motivated to explore and talk to any of these NPCs because I couldn't go into buildings. I couldn't talk to people. No one presented anything interesting for me.
Yes.
Yep. And I liked how there was a lot of quality of life changes they made that made the game, I guess, a lot more playable than older games because, for one, battles take place right there. You run into a Pokemon.
That's cool.
Bam.
I love that.
Send them out and they're right there. And then sometimes the camera was really weird, but most of the time you could click the right stick and it'd snap into the perfect angle. But if you're in water, nope, that's not happening. But I also liked how when you're in water, if you have a water type, they're actually swimming in the water. Like Quaxley, when he's in the water, he's just swimming like a little duck, kicking his little feet, and he's just chilling there, and he does that. That's cool. And then I like that the sandwich making is really wonky, and I love doing that. Seeing if I can stack 60 bacons without them falling, that's pretty cool. There's a lot that I like about the game, but there's also a lot that I don't like. But I had a pretty good time with them.
I would say if you want to there's a lot of unique swimming animations for Pokemon. I would go and try them out. There's a while I didn't realize there was so many unique swimming animations for some of these Pokemon.
I think our group therapy session has kind of helped me figure out what it is about the Shield Violet that I don't like.
Yeah.
The wild area in Pokemon Shield was just like, here's a big open area with Pokemon to catch. And I'm like, sick. Love it. Whereas this one, it's like, everything's open. Like, how you get from place to place is like this. I remember walking through the desert and being like, I wish this was just more of a path that I could go along. And I mean, there are paths, but like, there's open areas too. Like, if it's there, I got to go explore it. And I was like, shoot, am I like, that's how the games always were. And I always was looking forward to being open. But I literally just had the thought of like, I wish this was just a closed path. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. That's Scarlet and Violet. Should we get to our 6?
Let's do it.
Okay. I will say, I looked at all of them beforehand and like low quality pictures. I'm really not a fan of too many of these new ones. Like they are not hitting with me, but I still managed to find 6. I really like Skeledirge as my starter. This was the first fire starter I've ever picked in any of the games. It finally happened.
Interesting.
Finally happened. And I really like Skeledirge. Fire Ghost is cool. He's a big old crocodile. Love it. Low kicks. I caught a low kicks randomly.
Yeah,
I was like, hey,
low kicks is cool.
This guy's kind of cool. I like his kicking stuff. I have a Palmo currently. I haven't evolved it, and I don't know how or if that's going to happen. I haven't looked up evolutions for anyone, but I just like he's a fighting electric type, and he doesn't look like he'd be a fighting type, but I like
really
that.
Cool.
Espathra is a ostrich, but it's just a straight psychic type. I did not like its prior form, but then it evolved, and I really like how it looks, and it hits really hard with its psychic attacks. I also want to say the models for the Pokemon are surprisingly really, really good. They
have a lot of like texture on them, which is interesting.
Everything else in the game runs poorly, but those models are crisp.
Yeah, they are.
I have a Tinkaton. Everyone loves Tinkaton. I don't have that much love for it, but I think it's fun.
That's cool.
It's fun to have a little fairy with a big hammer. It doesn't fit in the camera. I don't know if either of you have had a Tinkaton.
No, it's so awkward. I'm like, how am I supposed to fight with this?
Yeah, I mean, you can just fight like normal, but I have to see it. Like, you have to adjust the camera in the worst ways to be able to see it. And then I don't have him on my team anymore, but I really loved Flamigo because it's just a flamingo.
Yeah.
It's just a flamingo that's a fighting type for no reason.
I wish it evolved, but I hate that it doesn't have an evolved form.
It really does.
I could not believe that it doesn't have an evolution, but I love the little Flamigo. Your turn, guest? Yes, your turn.
Yes, I was, since the beginning of this, I was #QuackPack from the beginning. I was like, Quaxly's going to be my guy. I'm going to go with Quaxly. Picked Quaxly, evolved into Quaxwell. I ended up seeing the final evolution of Quaxly, and I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not. It's Quackball.
For me, it was the toes. I can't with the weird bulbous red toes. They're nasty. They're like plump and round. I was like, no, not having that. So I traded my Quaxly for a Fuecoco and ran the Fuecoco line like halfway through my game instead. So Skeledirge is hands down the best starter out of all 3 of them. Super cool fire ghost crocodile. Schroeder's grown on me for sure, but at the end of the day, Skeledirge is the one I decided to go with, and I think it's cool. The other one I have on my team is a Kilowattrel. I think Kilowattrel is a really cool bird Pokemon in this game. Being electric flying, I think is a cool typing. I like its design. I think the black and the black and the yellow aesthetic is really cool to look at. A lot of people don't like it. I loved Toad's Cool and Toad's Cruel. I think they're great.
The first time I saw one running, I was like, excuse me?
It run me like a vaudeville act or something like that. I was like, I love this little guy. Being ground in grass, I thought was interesting. Also, just like, they're not regional forms, but they're regional forms. Yeah. You know, there are Paldean forms in this game, but these aren't Paldean forms, which I thought was weird. And they're called something different than their other Pokemon. They never, I don't know. I mean, I haven't beat the game, but they never like elaborated on
Berserker, basically, because like they had Berserker in in Sword and Shield, and
I like that far more than a Alolan form.
And then I have a Tinkaton on my team. I think Tinkaton's great. I would rather have had Tinkaton have a better attack stat and a less wild signature move, because Gigaton Hammer, 160 base power, has no negative side effects. Crazy, 100%. But Tinkaton has such a low attack stat. I'm like, I would have rather had more attack and a less crazy signature move. But I'm liking Tinkaton. I think its design is super cute and adorable. After that, I'm running a Flamigo. I love Flamigo so much.
Yeah.
Everyone hates on him. I know he like needs an evolution. It'd be cool if he had some more to him, but I'm loving it. He's like in the 70s on my team at this point. He's been killing it. Flamigo is incredibly fast and has a crazy high attack stat too. Gets access to a lot of flying and fighting moves, but weirdly gets access to a lot of water type moves too.
Oh.
So I'm trying to find one that has the water terror type, so I can kind of boost some of those water type attacks if I'm in a situation where I'm battling something like fire type or rock type or whatever, and have my Flamigo out. But I'm enjoying it. I love Flamigo. Flamigo's super cool.
Agreed.
And then I'm trying to think of my last one. Is that the last one? Yeah. Oh, I'm running Tatsugiri, the little sushi Pokemon. Dragon and Water, which isn't. I didn't expect that typing to be for the little sushi, which I thought was interesting, but it's dynamic with the big whale Dondozo. Their dynamic together, I think, is really cool. And it's been, if any of you watched any of the competitive Pokemon right now, that's what people have been running is Tatsugiri and Dondozo.
Aaron, take us to the finish line.
All right. Well, I started with Quaxley, and I don't give a fuck at all about Quaquaval. But I like Skeledirge and Meowscarada, and if I had to pick, I would pick Skeledirge because it's a big flaming crocodile, and it's like a skeleton crocodile. It's cool. I like it. After that, also pick Kilowattrel because I think he's cool. I like this design, and it's awesome. The one I had was Rev of Room because it's just a steel poison car, and I thought that was also cool.
Yeah, I was not expecting it to be Steel Poison either when I had first seen it. I was like, oh, Steel Go, like a Rotom kind of situation is what I was thinking of.
Yeah, he's like a little hot rod, and I thought that was pretty sweet. And then Garganacl, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm saying it. The big old Minecraft gold guy.
Yeah. I love this Pokemon so much because its naming convention is literally the scientific name for salt.
It's really clever.
NaCl. I was like, wow, that's so clever. I love it.
And he's just so beefy and tough, and yeah, he's great. I love him. And then Bramblecast. He's a grass ghost.
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed, yeah, dude. But I love him. So cool. He's so good. I love Bramblecast. And then Armarouge. Love that guy.
Nice.
He's just was he Fire Ghost? No, sorry, Fire Psychic. And he's all about defense, whereas Ceruledge is all about attack. But Armarouge is great, and I like him. And he's like both him and Ceruledge are like Mega Man bosses, but I like them. They're good.
Wonderful. Yeah. So that is every Pokemon game and our favorite Pokemon in them. I just want to say, from talking through this, I guess for me, Pokemon is like the only game series that I've had my whole life. And it was just kind of really cool to talk to you guys and be able to like see like this is where I was at in life and this is what Pokemon was like for me. That's really cool. You don't get that too much. And how we were all able to have vastly different Pokemon that we liked and different experiences. It just really speaks to how special, I guess, the Pokemon series is. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love about this series is these kind of conversations specifically. I mean, you can have your qualms with the recent ones with its issues, and I think in having these conversations and reflecting on the past games, we can kind of see what these new ones are lacking. Like I didn't really think about the town thing until I started thinking about Sun and Moon, or Sword and Shield, and looking at those and be like, oh my gosh, those were great compared to what we have right now. Like it feels like that's what I'm missing from this. But in having those conversations, we can kind of peel back the layers on maybe some of the reasons that some of these games are falling short. But hopefully, I think that the open world idea is good. I think it needs some more refining, but I'm optimistic about the future of Pokemon.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, for sure. I like they are willing to experiment sometimes wildly between games. I know a lot of people say that they're the same every time, but they are definitely not the same every time.
Yeah, no, they're not.
Any last words for Pokemon from anyone?
Nope, I've said all that I possibly could.
That's it. There's nothing else to say about Pokemon.
That's all she wrote.
That's it. All right. So, Aaron, where is our topic next week?
Let's go with difficult games.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
It is a good one.
I don't do good with difficult games, so we'll have varying viewpoints.
Oh yeah.
All right. If anyone is still listening, Aaron, where can they find us on social media again?
Yeah, so there's Facebook, Instagram, and then there's the 3Ts, Twitter, TikTok, Tumblr. We have a Patreon. Go to our website, superpodsaga.com. There's a donation section. You can give us a little bit of money on PayPal, and that'll help us a lot because these subscriptions start to add up, but that's just our own fault, I suppose. But yeah.
Excellent. And Jared, where can people find you?
You can find me anywhere you find podcasts, Play Along Podcast. Honestly, if you just Google Play Along Podcast now, our link tree is kind of one of the first things that comes up. So you can go on there, check out our podcast, and all our socials are in that.
All right. Check that out. Check us out. Check it out. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for having me, guys. Bye.
Yeah, bye.